The story begins at a sunlit high school. Inside, a black-haired boy uses a trembling friend as a prop for a picture, complaining about his weight while another friend snaps photos to send later. A teacher yells furiously into his phone, ordering someone not to lie in the hallway. The teacher confronts the students, telling the top student, Seungpyo, that he should be setting an example, while Seungpyo playfully apologizes. Seungpyo, known for not being a model student, smirks and invites everyone to an internet cafe to place bets after school. In class, Seungpyo laughs at a video on his friend's phone until the teacher suddenly calls on him to answer a question. Seungpyo correctly answers a complex science question, recalling that he must have read it somewhere, earning the teacher's approval. Later, he effortlessly prepares for a slam dunk in basketball. As others admit, he excels at everything far too easily. Wham! A hand slams down on a report card as a voice demands, "When are you gonna pull yourself together?" Seungpyo's older brother, Seungyeon, confronts him at his desk over his poor grades. Seungpyo scoffs, reminding his brother that he also struggled when he first started university. A flashback begins, recalling the results of his second mock exam. His brother scolds him for placing 8th, but Seungpyo is shocked, as it was the first time he'd ever actually studied, and a chill runs down his spine. In the present, Seungpyo struggles to remain calm under the pressure. He laments that he can no longer fool around and turns down a friend's offer to play games, explaining that his dad cut off his allowance. His eyes narrow with a low growl of determination. Now focused, Seungpyo studies diligently in the classroom, resolved to overcome his struggles. His friends notice his new dedication, whispering that he must have fought with his dad, and decide to leave him to study. Students bustle around the school bulletin board to check the new rankings. As his friends celebrate his impressive rank, Seungpyo smirks, confident he will finally be number 1. His confident expression suddenly falters. The list reveals Ryu Jaemin in first place, with Seungpyo in second. Stunned, Seungpyo can only think, "Second?" as a chill washes over him. He seethes, wondering who this Ryu Jaemin is that has beaten him again. Other students gossip that Jaemin has held the top spot since middle school. Just then, a student greets Jaemin as he arrives to see the board. The camera focuses on the back of Jaemin's school uniform. Jaemin is immediately surrounded by admiring classmates, one of whom sighs in jealousy. Jaemin smiles humbly, acting embarrassed by the praise and asking what rank he achieved. Seungpyo watches from a distance, realizing this is his rival, Ryu Jaemin. With the ranking list visible, Jaemin lets out a subtle, knowing smirk. Seeing Jaemin's calm smile, Seungpyo thinks menacingly. Seungpyo grits his teeth, annoyed that Jaemin looks like he completely expected to win. Jaemin turns and catches Seungpyo staring, causing Seungpyo to flinch in panic. As Jaemin tilts his head in confusion, Seungpyo flinches again, completely rattled. Blushing with humiliation, Seungpyo quickly turns and tells his friends it's time to go. He storms off down the hall, a friend calling after him to wait up. Jaemin jokingly offers to teach a friend how to study, while others whisper about how unfair it is for someone so handsome to also be a genius. The whispers follow Jaemin, mentioning he gets scouted by entertainment agencies, and that it's time to go play games now. Seungpyo listens to the hushed gossip with a stoic expression. His gaze intensifies, filled with renewed resolve. Time passes, marked by an empty school hallway in autumn. The rankings remained unchanged. Jaemin always took first, while Seungpyo was forever second. Seungpyo's hand clenches into a tight fist as he curses his frustration. A classmate tells Seungpyo about Jaemin's privileged background, professor parents, and an expensive, famous tutor. Seungpyo scoffs dismissively, convinced Jaemin's success is just bought with money. A close-up shows Jaemin's calm, downcast eyes. The view shifts to Jaemin's subtle, confident smile. Gritting his teeth, Seungpyo internally fumes that Jaemin's expression screams of superiority. A heavy downpour begins to fall over the city. Step, Seungpyo walks in the rain, wishing he were home. He answers a call from his energetic brother, who drunkenly begs him to bring an umbrella to the subway station for 50,000 won, an offer Seungpyo can't refuse. Looking at his phone, he notes he only has 3% battery left. Rummage, he searches his bag, glad he brought his power bank. Wham! He collides hard with someone, letting out a grunt. Clack. His phone and power bank fall to the wet ground, as the person he hit cries out in alarm for their own phone. The person he ran into, Jaemin, glances up and begins to apologize. Standing in the rain, Seungpyo and Jaemin stare at each other in confusion. Jaemin apologizes to Seungpyo, explaining he's in a hurry for the academy as he quickly grabs a phone from the ground. Jaemin runs off, leaving Seungpyo watching him go. Seungpyo eyes the building, thinking it looks too rundown to be a fancy academy. Sighing, he grumbles that Jaemin could have at least picked up his phone too before reaching down for it. His eyes widen as he notices something is off. Holding the device, he realizes the lock screen is wrong and wonders if he accidentally picked up Jaemin's phone. Ding! A notification suddenly appears on the screen. It's a comment notification from a social media app, piquing his curiosity. He starts to tap the phone, thinking he might find the name of Jaemin's famous tutor on the app. Oops! A sudden flash illuminates his face as he accidentally presses the wrong thing. He quickly glances around, hoping no one saw the bright light. Bait him. His heart pounds and he flushes beet red, utterly shocked by what he sees on the screen. The rain pours down on the First Place Math Academy. Jaemin arrives just as class is about to start, greeting the receptionist. He blames the rain for his tardiness and hands over a red phone as requested before heading inside. Bustle, he settles into his seat in the busy classroom. Pause. His eyes narrow in thought. He realizes his own phone's battery must have died when he dropped it, meaning he just handed in someone else's phone. He puts his bag down, thinking it's better this way, as it would have been bad if Seungpyo saw his screen. The scene shifts to tall, modern apartment buildings against a darkening evening sky. Creak. Jaemin arrives home, announcing his return. A woman's voice welcomes Jaemin back as he responds quietly. The woman explains she has a headache and would appreciate some quiet. Jaemin asks if she's alright, and she confirms she is, mentioning she heard about his exam. He tells her the results are out tomorrow, wondering how she always knows his schedule. Announcing he needs a shower after getting caught in the rain, he walks away. Creak. Feeling refreshed, Jaemin exits his room in clean pajamas, drying his hair. He finds his phone and decides to charge it. Placing the phone on a shelf to charge, he plans to review his mistakes while it powers up. Tick-tock. Time passes as he studies at his desk. Tap, he finishes his work for the night. Deciding to check a photo he uploaded, he grabs the phone from the shelf. Jolt, his eyes fly open in sudden realization. Thump, he stares at the unfamiliar lock screen, his heart sinking as he realizes this isn't his phone. Thump! The horrible truth dawns on him in a wave of panic. A flashback shows the moment he collided with Seungpyo. He remembers hastily grabbing a phone from the puddle-strewn ground. Whoosh! Back in the present, he frantically opens his laptop. Tap, 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 he types rapidly, his mind racing in denial. Ding, ding, ding! His laptop is suddenly bombarded with a stream of notifications. He sees hundreds of notifications on the social media app and clicks, his dread growing. Flash! The post is a revealing photo of a man's torso, and the comment section is a chaotic storm of insults, thirsty replies, and arguments, with users viciously debating his wealth and age. Thump, thump, thump. Jaemin's heart pounds in his chest as the panic sets in. A flashback begins, recalling that he started this all by chance. In the classroom, a friend asks Jaemin if he uses social media, while another notes they've never seen him on any apps. Haha, Jaemin smiles politely, claiming he doesn't really have anything to post. His friends encourage him to try it, insisting it's fun to look at other people's posts and keep up with trends. As his friends banter, Jaemin quietly considers their suggestion, wondering if he should try it. He recalls opening an account and typing out a post about his exhaustion and controlling parents, only to repeatedly delete it. Later, while browsing his phone in his pajamas, he decides he needs a new pair of sneakers. FWIP, he scrolls through an online store but finds all the shoes look similar to what he already owns. FWIP, he continues scrolling until he pauses on a suggestive photo of a man's torso with the caption, "Got new shoes." Jolt! Startled by the photo, he gasps and glances around his room nervously. Blushing, he covers his mouth in shock, surprised that people post half-naked photos. Tug. Inspired, he takes a picture of his own torso with a snap of his phone's camera. Tick. The upload completes, and a satisfied smirk spreads across his face. Back in the present, a chill runs through him as he panics, wondering what he should do. His heart throbs as the terrible reality sinks in, questioning if Seungpyo saw everything, and what is happening. Knock knock. A sudden knock on his door makes him flinch at his desk. Creak. A man in a red robe enters, asking why he's on his laptop so late, as Jaemin quickly lies about checking online lectures. The man hums skeptically as Jaemin turns the laptop screen away from view. The man places a hand on his shoulder, advising him to turn off his computer and get some rest. Jaemin forces a smile and agrees, saying he was just about to turn it off. Clack, the moment the man leaves, he immediately turns back to his laptop. Tap, tap. He confirms the deletion of his TNT social media account. Later in bed, he fidgets anxiously, wondering how to face Seungpyo at school tomorrow. He clenches his fist, trying to reassure himself that since there's no proof, he can just deny everything. His anxiety peaks as he worries what will happen if Seungpyo, who already dislikes him, finds out the truth. The next day at school, Seungpyo spots Jaemin and lets out a quiet, "Ah." Jaemin grits his teeth, his expression hardening as they see each other. The scene flashes back to Seungpyo in bed the previous night, blushing and clutching his blanket in agitation. A sharp, fleeting transition marks the passage of time. Now relaxing in his room, Seungpyo grumbles that Jaemin deleted the account when he still had more comments to write. He sits up, a sudden thought striking him. He thinks about Jaemin's innocent act at school versus his provocative online persona, and his eye twitches in confusion, wondering what his deal is. Students bustle into the school building the next morning. Jaemin nervously clenches the collar of his uniform. He hesitates by the gate, thinking he can't bring himself to go inside. A friend claps him on the shoulder, asking what he's doing, and Jaemin stammers in response. His friends note he's late and dash inside to escape the cold. Jaemin quietly follows them into the hallway. He overhears another student asking if Seungpyo lost his phone. Elsewhere, Seungpyo's friends complain he ghosted them, and he vaguely jokes that his phone must have been stolen. As Jaemin walks past Seungpyo's group, a friend greets him, but he just says he'll see them later. Seungpyo and Jaemin share a tense, silent glance. Seungpyo nonchalantly tells his friends the phone's battery was dead, so there's no point in calling it. He waves his hand dismissively, saying he'll just buy a new one since his contract was almost up. With a sideways glance, he adds that he has nothing to hide on his phone anyway. Jaemin hears the pointed remark and grits his teeth. He silently turns and walks away down the hall. Now in class, Jaemin debates, pretending he has no idea about the phone swap, recalling Seungpyo said losing it didn't matter. He fidgets anxiously, worrying that Seungpyo might spread rumors about him anyway. Jaemin considers just saying he found his phone to resolve the situation. Grah. A friend suddenly confronts Jaemin at his desk, startling him. The friend notes Jaemin's been spacing out, so he apologizes and says he's skipping lunch. As his friends leave, Jaemin admits to himself he has no appetite because of Seungpyo. Rattled, he decides he needs some milk to be able to focus. Clink. He buys a carton of Jinwol milk for 600 won. Deciding to drink it in the classroom, he heads back from the store. He flinches upon seeing Seungpyo and his friends laughing at a phone. His heart thumps as he wonders why they keep meeting. Seungpyo's friend casually mentions that people post online about wanting bread from the store. Jolt! Another friend turns and asks Jaemin if he uses social media. Fidgeting nervously, Jaemin sips his milk, too anxious to leave because of Seungpyo. Seungpyo's friends discuss their own social media use, with both saying they're not very active anymore. Seungpyo smirks, saying he's curious about social media after seeing someone use it. Jaemin sighs in annoyance, realizing Seungpyo is toying with him. The scene transitions with a blur of motion. Bustle. Students head to classroom 1 to 4, one complaining about the room change. Inside, students settle down and make plans to play basketball after class. Pop. A friend asks Seungpyo about his missing phone, blaming their basketball loss on being unable to contact him. Seungpyo smirks, resting his chin on his fist with a smug look. As Jaemin walks by, a student comments that Seungpyo isn't getting a new phone. Seungpyo stares directly at Jaemin and calls out to him, explaining he's waiting for a new model to be released. He continues to glare intensely at Jaemin. Seungpyo tells his friends he has a spare phone without a SIM card. His friend asks why he can't just activate it as Jaemin listens from his desk. Seungpyo internally notes that Jaemin has been ignoring him ever since their phones were switched. He fumes, wondering if Jaemin is mad he was exposed and is now acting self-righteous despite his perverted online activities. He questions if Jaemin is feigning ignorance, thinking he has no proof like a screenshot. He recalls the provocative photo of Jaemin's torso and loosened tie. He remembers another suggestive photo, thinking about all the pervy pictures Jaemin uploads. He flashes back to the app's comment section, filled with thirsty requests and Jaemin's apologetic replies. As his friends tease someone for being bad at games, Seungpyo thinks they'd say the account owner looks just like Ryu Jaemin. Jaemin sits quietly, facing away from the group. Seungpyo decides he won't actually tell them, but questions why Jaemin is ignoring him when it wasn't his fault. Clench, he grips his hand, admitting he was just trying to get a reaction and calling Jaemin a shameless asshole. He asks his friends if he can report someone for not returning found property, confusing them. The teacher arrives, telling the class to settle down so they can begin. The teacher calls Seungpyo to the front of the classroom. Trudge, the teacher asks him to move a stack of heavy boxes to the reference room. Seungpyo complains, but the teacher dismisses him, saying he has to leave for the faculty room. The teacher then stops and calls for Ryu Jaemin, who pauses and answers. He instructs Jaemin to help Seungpyo with the boxes, noting they look like the sturdiest students. Seungpyo glances over at a hesitant Jaemin. Whoosh! The teacher thanks them and quickly departs, leaving them with the boxes. Seungpyo turns to Jaemin and tells him it's time to go. Jaemin quietly offers to take the boxes himself, telling Seungpyo to return to class. Holding both boxes, Seungpyo challenges Jaemin to lift one to prove he can handle it. Jaemin huffs, struggling to lift even a single heavy box. Seungpyo watches impatiently, telling him to hurry up. Fidgeting, Jaemin remains silent and looks downcast. Creak, they both carry a box each as they head into the teacher's resource room. Step, Jaemin follows Seungpyo into the resource room, each carrying a box. Clack, Jaemin reaches back and locks the doorknob behind them. Seungpyo glances over his shoulder, shocked and suspicious that Jaemin just locked the door. Tap, Seungpyo ignores it for a moment and places his box on a high shelf. Slide, he pushes the heavy box firmly into place. Jaemin watches him, thinking he needs to stay wary and not fall for whatever Seungpyo is planning. Breaking the silence, Seungpyo calls out to get his attention. He turns and confronts Jaemin, demanding to know why he's been avoiding him for days. Jaemin flinches, caught off guard by the direct question. Playing dumb, Jaemin nervously asks what Seungpyo expected him to say. Seungpyo glares, internally cursing him for being so shameless. He frowns, asking how long Jaemin intends to keep his stolen phone. In the empty storeroom, Jaemin apologizes and claims he keeps forgetting to bring the phone from home. He takes a hesitant step forward. He then questions why Seungpyo isn't looking for the phone himself if he needs it so badly. Rummage, Jaemin digs into his pocket and asks if Seungpyo is talking about his own phone. FWIP. He pulls out a red phone and coolly states that he never lost it. Seungpyo smirks, disbelievingly asking if Jaemin really didn't lose his phone. Jaemin doubles down on the lie, insisting the red phone is his and he's been using it for over a year. A smirk plays on Seungpyo's lips as he realizes Jaemin is putting on a front and decides to test his resolve. Shrugging dramatically, Seungpyo feigns relief, saying the phone he found must belong to someone else and that he hasn't lost anything. He then slyly asks if it's okay to show the homeroom teacher the photos from that phone, causing Jaemin to nervously question what photos he means. Seungpyo continues to taunt him, suggesting it might be more fun to send them to the group chat for everyone to see. Jaemin sweats, still pretending not to understand what photos Seungpyo is talking about. Seungpyo scoffs at his acting, revealing he took screenshots and that anyone can tell it's him, even with his face hidden. Looking away, Jaemin stubbornly insists that Seungpyo has mistaken him for someone else. Wham! Seungpyo slams his hand against the shelf right next to Jaemin's head. Gritting his teeth, he leans in close and snarls that Jaemin is a fantastic actor. Pinned against the shelf, Jaemin weakly maintains his innocence, saying he doesn't know what Seungpyo means. FWIP, Seungpyo pulls back dismissively, saying he should have just gone ahead and exposed him since Jaemin clearly doesn't care. Jaemin defiantly tells him to do whatever he wants, but then pleads for him to stop being angry so they can clear the air. Grr. Seungpyo fumes internally, marveling at Jaemin's Oscar-worthy performance. Turning his back, Seungpyo warns him to be prepared, saying he won't regret ignoring him and taking his things. Jaemin finally snaps, shouting that Seungpyo has the wrong person and questioning why he's the target of his anger. Seungpyo mutters that he's getting pissed off, admitting he only intended to tease him a little, but is now genuinely angry. Jaemin grits his teeth, realizing Seungpyo won't back down and that their break is almost over. Changing his approach, Jaemin turns and accuses Seungpyo of having an ulterior motive, telling him to just state what he wants. Jaemin guesses Seungpyo is upset about his academic ranking and offers his notes, but Seungpyo denies wanting them. Growing desperate, Jaemin even offers to intentionally fail a mock exam for him. Yank! Enraged, Seungpyo grabs Jaemin's uniform. He pulls Jaemin close, gritting his teeth as he threatens to kill him if he says another word. Bang, bang. A teacher pounds on the locked door, demanding to know why it's locked and telling them to come out for class. Tisk, Seungpyo clicks his tongue, annoyed by the interruption. He turns to leave the storeroom. Pausing at the door, he warns Jaemin that their conversation isn't over. Left alone, a shaken Jaemin anxiously fidgets with his tie. Gong! The bell rings as Seungpyo and other students head back to class through the crowded hallway. Creak. Seungpyo opens the classroom door. He stands in the doorway and calls out, Ryu Jaemin, outside. Now, students murmur among themselves, wondering when Seungpyo and Jaemin became close, as Jaemin looks up from his desk in shock. Their confrontation continues inside the teacher's resource room. Leaning against a shelf, Seungpyo asks Jaemin if he'd do anything he asked. Jaemin nervously agrees to do anything doable, just wanting to end the scary situation. Seungpyo smirks, telling him to stop acting scared. Flinch, Jaemin recoils at his sharp tone, glancing. Seungpyo's eyes narrow as he watches him. As Seungpyo begins his request, the focus shifts to Jaemin's loosened tie. Seungpyo smirks and asks if Jaemin would take off his clothes for him. Flinch, Jaemin looks up in shock, questioning what he heard. Seungpyo's smug smile widens. Jaemin looks away, asking if Seungpyo is insane. Smirking, Seungpyo suggests the reason Jaemin uploaded those photos was to try something like this. He continues to grin, enjoying the moment. The two stand in tense silence amidst the storeroom shelves. Jaemin grows flustered, struggling to find the right words. Seungpyo laughs, saying Jaemin's panicked expression is what he wanted to see and asking why he's so quiet. Clench, Jaemin's fist tightens in frustration. Seungpyo sighs, asking if his silence means he won't do it. Jaemin pleads with him to stop the bullying, insisting he's not the person he's looking for. Smirk, Seungpyo internally mocks him, wondering where his shameless confidence went, and thinking this is his true character. He tells Jaemin to stop acting helpless, claiming he would have ignored everything if Jaemin hadn't provoked him. When Jaemin asks how he provoked him, Seungpyo angrily scoffs at his dedication to grades, claiming he doesn't need to try so hard. Glare, Seungpyo states that he couldn't care less about being outranked in school. Flinch, Jaemin quickly apologizes, saying he didn't mean to make him feel bad. Seungpyo dismisses the apology, ordering him to just do as he says so he won't spread the photos. Chuckle. He warns Jaemin to hurry up before their break ends, beginning a countdown. Sniffle. Jaemin's shoulders slump as he begins to cry quietly. Seungpyo looks genuinely surprised, asking if he's actually crying. Hick. Jaemin wipes his eyes, sobbing that Seungpyo has it all wrong. Watching him, Seungpyo internally curses at the sight of his tears. Chills. A look of cold disgust crosses Seungpyo's face as he calls Jaemin despicable. He tells the crying Jaemin to stop, calling him a loser who didn't do anything right. Grab. Jaemin suddenly lunges forward, gripping Seungpyo's wrist and shouting for him to stop. His eyes are now filled with a cold, focused anger. Seungpyo is momentarily stunned into silence. Wobble. Jaemin grabs Seungpyo's collar and Seungpyo angrily accuses him of faking his tears. Thwack! Jaemin forcefully slaps Seungpyo's hand away. Tap, tap. Jaemin taps the red phone against Seungpyo's chest, who demands to know what he's doing. Jolt. Seungpyo's eyes widen as Jaemin coldly turns his own words back on him, asking if he'd do anything he was asked to. Jaemin reveals he's been recording their entire conversation, demanding Seungpyo act like a stripper for him, just as he'd suggested. Beep. Jaemin stops the recording, calmly stating that Seungpyo blackmailed him, and the recording makes it sound much worse. Chills, a stunned Seungpyo asks if he really recorded them as Jaemin explains that he had to get leverage of his own after being provoked. The phone screen displays the completed recording, a silent testament to Jaemin's counterattack. A panicked Seungpyo calls him crazy, threatening to release the photos if Jaemin shares the recording. Jaemin points out that while the photos lack proof, the voice on the recording is undeniably Seungpyo's. HMPH. Seungpyo challenges him, asking if he's really willing to go down with him. Jaemin smiles confidently, assuring him he has no intention of going down alone. Glance. Seungpyo looks away, utterly defeated by the sudden reversal. As a clock ticks on the wall, Jaemin reminds him that their break is almost over. Seungpyo glares, furiously refusing to leave the room with him. Suit yourself, and turns to leave. Step, step. Seungpyo walks away, beginning to question who he's dealing with. Shudder? He covers his mouth, realizing with a chill who Jaemin truly is. He suddenly panics, remembering he forgot to get his phone back. Chatter, chatter. The scene shifts to the bustling cafeteria as students get their lunch. A friend invites Jaemin to a basketball game, but he declines, claiming he's bad at sports, though another friend calls him out on the lie. Lean, a student from another class, approaches their table to discuss the basketball match. FWIP. As they discuss the game time, one boy mentions a teammate bailed, catching Jaemin's attention. A smiling student greets Seungpyo, who grimaces in annoyance, thinking it just had to be him. Announcing he's going to the library, Jaemin gets up to leave the table. From Jaemin's perspective, he recalls Seungpyo's sarcastic taunts during lunch and seethes internally. Seungpyo rushes after Jaemin in the hallway, calling for him to wait. He abruptly stops Jaemin in the empty hallway. Jaemin turns around, impatiently asking what he wants now. Toss. Seungpyo throws a phone to Jaemin, telling him to take it. Holding the phone, Jaemin silently listens as Seungpyo tells him to bring his phone tomorrow. Seungpyo looks away, annoyed, saying this isn't fun anymore, and they should just return each other's things. Jaemin looks on in profile, questioning Seungpyo's change of heart by mentioning the screenshots. Seungpyo offers to delete the screenshots, admitting they both have leverage with the voice recording, and suggests they end things quickly. Jaemin recalls that Seungpyo only did it to tease him. Resting his head on his hand, Seungpyo insists he won't bring it up again and just wants his phone back. Jaemin's glare hardens as he remembers Seungpyo's blackmail attempt. Jaemin angrily asks if Seungpyo really thinks he can do whatever he wants. Seungpyo smirks, challenging him and asking if he doesn't want to end things. Jaemin internally fumes, acknowledging the photos were his fault, but questioning why he's being treated like a criminal. Clench, he realizes Seungpyo was just taking out his rage on him, and is only backing down now that he's also in trouble. Sigh. Jaemin closes his eyes and reluctantly agrees to get his phone tomorrow. Stare! Seungpyo calls out to him, stopping him again. Jaemin turns back, confused. Seungpyo taunts him, wondering if he's an exhibitionist, which causes Jaemin to flush with anger. Flustered, Jaemin reminds him he was the one who said they should stop talking about it. Hey, Seungpyo playfully zips his lips, promising not to say another word, but Jaemin sighs in disbelief. A voice from off-screen calls for Seungpyo, saying they're short on time. Seungpyo turns and walks away down the hall. Jaemin watches him leave, remaining silent. He then turns and walks in the opposite direction. Outside the school building, Jaemin sighs, glancing around the courtyard. In the library, a friend asks Jaemin to run an errand, and he reluctantly agrees, annoyed he just wanted to read. Outside, Jaemin spots a man in a vest and cap, realizing it must be the delivery man. The delivery man looks down at his phone, waiting. Jaemin approaches and greets him, but the man suddenly shouts a warning. Whoosh! A soccer ball flies through the air towards Jaemin's head. Thwack! The ball hits him square in the face. The impact is shown in a flash of black hair. Flop! Jaemin tumbles to the ground, clutching his head in pain. Dash! His friends rush over, worriedly calling his name. Glare! Jaemin seethes in pain, thinking, fucking hell. His friends surround him, asking if he's hurt, as he thinks to himself that of course it hurts. The other students marvel that Seungpyo kicked the ball so far. While Seungpyo protests, he didn't know this would happen. FWIP, someone calls Jaemin's name and picks up the paper bag he dropped. Reach, a man in a vest and cap hands a phone to a student, telling him, "Here you go, mister." The man points in alarm, exclaiming that the student's nose is bleeding, and he should go to the infirmary. Drip, Jaemin touches his face, finding his fingers covered in blood from his nose. As his classmates panic and call for tissues, Seungpyo watches from the side. Seungpyo calls out to Ryu Jaemin, but he turns to leave, saying he'll just go to the infirmary. Tisk, Seungpyo clenches his jaw, looking annoyed as Jaemin walks away. Dash, Seungpyo sprints forward and grabs Jaemin's shoulder, demanding to know why he just left. Whap, Jaemin angrily slaps Seungpyo's hand away with a grunt. Glare, holding his bloody nose, Jaemin accuses Seungpyo of hitting him on purpose. Seungpyo denies it, sarcastically asking if Jaemin thinks he has superpowers to aim at him from far away. Pressing a hand to his nose, Jaemin coldly tells Seungpyo to get lost. Seungpyo retorts that he was just trying to worry about him, questioning why Jaemin didn't use his own superpowers to dodge the ball. The two glare at each other in a tense, silent standoff. Jaemin turns his back, declaring he has nothing more to say to him. Seungpyo grabs his wrist, stopping him from leaving. Sighing in exasperation, Jaemin asks what he wants now. Wipe, Telling him to hang on, Seungpyo gently presses a white cloth to Jaemin's bleeding nose. Jaemin looks up in surprise as Seungpyo holds the cloth for him, telling him to take it. Rub. Seungpyo continues to carefully clean the blood from his face. Glancing while holding the cloth, Jaemin peeks over at Seungpyo, announcing the bleeding won't stop. Seungpyo takes Jaemin's hand and leads him toward the infirmary. As Seungpyo leads him away, a close-up shows their hands firmly clasped together. Inside, the nurse tends to Jaemin's nosebleed while Seungpyo watches with his arms crossed. Jaemin glances over his shoulder and tells a surprised Seungpyo that he can leave now. FWIP, taking the bloody cloth from his nose, Jaemin realizes it's a t-shirt and promises to wash it before returning it. Flinch. He recoils slightly as he examines the cloth. He holds up the garment, confirming it's a t-shirt and wondering if it's Seungpyo's. Seungpyo reaches for the shirt, telling Jaemin to just give it to him, despite his insistence on washing it. Smirking, Seungpyo takes the shirt, telling the nurse to give it to him so he can wash it fast, and then asking her to leave soon, making Jaemin feel like he's lost. Stare. Seungpyo looks down at Jaemin with a serious expression. Jolt. Jaemin is startled by his intense gaze. Cough. Seungpyo suddenly starts coughing, as the nurse asks if he's getting a cold. Flustered, Seungpyo denies it and quickly leaves as the nurse waves, advising Jaemin to be more careful playing soccer. Glance, Jaemin looks toward the door, wondering if Seungpyo was just smiling. A side profile reveals Seungpyo's faint, knowing smile as he walks away. Alone in the infirmary, Jaemin sits on a bed, looking at his reflection in a mirror. He stands in the hallway, blushing and looking completely flustered. A voice yells Seungpyo's name from behind a door, asking whose fault he thinks this is, as students outside whisper about a fight. Bottom, Jaemin clutches his sweater, his heart pounding with anxiety. Greek. Back in the classroom, students discuss needing a replacement for an injured player named Hyung Seo as Jaemin enters. A concerned classmate asks if Jaemin is okay, having heard he went to the infirmary after getting hit by a ball from another class. Jaemin laughs, brushing it off as just a nosebleed, while his friend calls him unlucky. Glance, his classmate points out a blood stain on Jaemin's shirt collar. Frown, Jaemin touches the stain on his collar, thinking he's pissed, as his friend calls his name. Jaemin looks confused as his friends ask him to play basketball, admitting he's never played before. His classmates reassure him, saying they're not great either and that he can practice before the game in 2 days. They explain that they need him to play center to block the tall and skilled Seungpyo. Scritch, one of his classmates, draws a quick diagram to explain the role of a center. Jaemin processes the information, confirming his only job is to cover Seungpyo. A friend explains their basketball strategy, noting Seungpyo's height advantage. Chuckle, Jaemin and his friends discuss game positions, with one noting they at least need to know the basics. Nod, Jaemin smiles confidently, vowing to study up for the game by tomorrow. His friends are surprised he's studying basketball, but Jaemin says he needs to watch videos to understand it. Rummage, a friend offers to show him some good channels on his phone. FWIP, he asks for Jaemin's number so they can coordinate practice. Stare, Jaemin hesitates, recalling his parents' strict rules against contacting friends. Tap, he decides to enter his number, thinking it's been a while. A classmate invites him to join their practice session after class. Jaemin considers the offer, calculating if an hour is enough time before he has to go to his academy. The class celebrates Jaemin's decision to play, excitedly declaring that they now have hope. During class, Jaemin worries that his parents would say no if they found out. Scritch, he decides he can practice for a bit without getting caught. Drip, a memory surfaces of a dark-haired boy sweating under immense pressure. Smirk, Jaemin lets out a confident smile in the present. Tap, the scene transitions to the basketball court. Tap, swoosh! During practice, a friend goes up for a shot. Spring, tap, the player leaps into the air. Whoosh! Jaemin fakes out his opponent with a smirk, causing him to jump for a block that never comes. FWIP, clunk, the ball easily scores after the successful feint. His friend explains how fakes work, demonstrating that you can't jump too early. Wiping away sweat, Jaemin asks to try again, this time against 2 defenders. Step, another group of students, including Seungpyo, arrives at the court. Jaemin turns and cheerfully waves hello to them. A friend of Seungpyo's asks if Jaemin is really joining the game, and he confirms he's a substitute. Smirk, Seungpyo looks on, intrigued that Jaemin plays sports. Seungpyo's friend suggests they practice there too, but Seungpyo refuses to practice with the opposing team. PF, Seungpyo and his friend leave, telling Jaemin's team to practice hard. Frown, Jaemin watches them go, noting Seungpyo's confidence and telling his team to hurry up. The school building is shown against a sunset sky. Step, as Seungpyo is leaving, a friend invites him to a PC cafe, and he agrees. Jaemin stops Seungpyo in the hall, asking if they can talk for a second. Their conversation continues, now taking place inside the school's storeroom. Seungpyo sighs, annoyed, asking why Jaemin brought him back there. FWIP, Jaemin holds out a phone, telling him, here. Tap, tap, Seungpyo smiles as he takes the phone, glad to have it back. He quickly realizes it isn't his phone, noting Jaemin brought the wrong one. Jaemin coolly explains he brought the phone Seungpyo gave him, and that he intentionally didn't bring Seungpyo's. Shrug, Jaemin argues that their issue isn't resolved and questions how he can trust Seungpyo's promise. Seungpyo angrily calls him a psycho, and Jaemin agrees they can't trust each other, so they must settle things for good. Jaemin proposes that Seungpyo can keep his phone as collateral until they settle their bet. Seungpyo listens, his expression unreadable as he considers the unexpected offer. Jaemin offers to write down the terms of their bet if Seungpyo doesn't believe him. Seungpyo asks what happens if Jaemin's class wins, and Jaemin demands the pictures be deleted and an apology for the blackmail and the soccer ball incident. Seungpyo mocks him for holding a grudge over an apology, while Jaemin retorts that Seungpyo is far worse. Chuckle, Seungpyo observes that Jaemin always has to have the last word. Seungpyo internally scoffs, thinking Jaemin is treating the game like an exam and underestimating his years of experience. Seungpyo calls the collateral unfair and suggests adding another condition to their bet. A wary Jaemin asks what the new condition might be. Doom. Seungpyo grins and suggests the loser gets flicked on the forehead 10 times. Chills, Jaemin finds the idea of finger flicks incredibly childish. Seungpyo taunts Jaemin about being scared, warning that he's hurt someone before, but Jaemin angrily accepts the bet, insisting Seungpyo can't take it back now. Jaemin glares, asking if blackmail is a hobby for him and calling him childish. Flinch Seungpyo hovers his fingers above Jaemin's forehead, ominously declaring, "You're dead now." Whack. Jaemin smacks his hand away as Seungpyo tells him to practice, though he'll lose anyway. Step. Seungpyo walks away, leaving a silent Jaemin standing alone. Jaemin brushes his hair back with a frustrated sigh. Chatter echoes across the bustling school grounds. Tap, sitting on the stairs, Jaemin impatiently drums his fingers while someone yells to pass the ball. Rattle, a basketball hits the rim. Wham! With focused intensity, Jaemin slams the ball through the hoop. His friends approach in disbelief, asking if this is really his first time playing. Watching from a distance, Seungpyo overhears his friends call Jaemin a genius who could get scouted. Spring, he stands up as someone announces that time is up. Another group of students arrives, telling Jaemin's team that their 20 minutes are over. Not wanting to leave just yet, his friends suggest watching the other team for a while. One of his friends notices Seungpyo on the court and calls out to Jaemin. Seungpyo smirks, telling Jaemin to put his jacket on because he won't go easy on him. Jaemin snaps back, annoyed, asking why he cares if he gets a cold. Whisper. Other students gossip about how surprisingly good Ryu Jaemin is for a first-timer. Seungpyo dismisses Jaemin's skill and orders his own team to stop chatting and practice. A teammate comments on the intense mind games being played. As the game starts, players yell to block Seungpyo from reaching the basket. Tap, step, Seungpyo quickly dribbles the ball, maneuvering on the court. Toss, faking out a defender, he passes the ball to a teammate. Whoosh! His teammate takes the shot, desperately hoping it goes in. Clang! The ball bounces off the rim, and players dash to get the rebound. Grab, Seungpyo secures the ball as the opposing team yells not to let him have it. Dash, a teammate runs ahead, planning to cover Seungpyo from the front. Seungpyo calmly positions himself for a long-distance shot. Rustle, the ball sinks perfectly through the net. Murmur, his teammates watch in awe, one exclaiming how clean the three-pointer was. Clap, Seungpyo high-fives a teammate while Jaemin frowns, realizing he might be in trouble. Wham! With impressive power, Seungpyo dunks the ball, amazing the onlookers. With a determined look, Jaemin thinks he might not be able to win against him. Tap. A friend pats Jaemin's shoulder, asking why he's so serious and telling him they can still win. Jaemin turns away, sighing while claiming he isn't worried. Step, Seungpyo walks through the school grounds after the game. He looks up at the building, wondering if today is the game against Class 2. Tisk, Dismissing his worries, he reassures himself that his team will obviously win. He stops, surprised to see Jaemin practicing alone on the court. Jaemin concentrates, raising his arms to take a shot. Rattle, the ball bounces off the rim, missing the basket. Dash, he sighs in frustration after the missed shot. Seungpyo watches from a distance, muttering that it was a three-pointer attempt. Step, step. He walks onto the court as Jaemin retrieves the ball. Seungpyo playfully teases Jaemin for practicing so hard, joking he could be on the national team. Jaemin explains that since he's not very good, the least he can do is practice for his team. Seungpyo tells him no one in class 2 is that good anyway, then questions why he's practicing three-pointers. "'Cause I can," Jaemin retorts, internally fuming at Seungpyo's short and irritating answers. Seungpyo offers to teach Jaemin how to play, but Jaemin just looks at him with suspicion. With a toss and a swoosh, Seungpyo demonstrates a perfect shot. He explains Jaemin's form is wrong, telling him he's using too much force and shouldn't hold the ball with 2 hands. Smack, smack, he adjusts Jaemin's knee, instructing him to use his whole body and keep loose. FWIP, Jaemin focuses, recalling the instructions to support with his left and push with his right. Toss, swoosh, he shoots, and the ball goes straight through the net. Grab, Jaemin stands in disbelief that it went in, while Seungpyo smugly says, "Told you," as he picks up his bag. Tug, Seungpyo slings his bag over his shoulder, telling Jaemin to take it easy before the others arrive. Jaemin quietly agrees, holding the basketball as he watches Seungpyo leave. Seungpyo walks away, thinking Jaemin is too stubborn and should be practicing layups instead of three-pointers. He reflects with a surprised that Jaemin is taking practice so seriously, wondering if that's the secret to being the top student. With a jolt, a flustered Seungpyo catches himself, blushing as he wonders what he's thinking. Whisper, whisper. As Seungpyo walks down the hall, he overhears other students gossiping about Jaemin playing in the upcoming game. FWIP, FWIP. A teacher gestures for Seungpyo to come over. Lin, Seungpyo's homeroom teacher, whispers conspiratorially, asking if he made a bet with the other teacher. Smack, the teacher playfully hits Seungpyo's back, promising him a treat for winning, as Seungpyo realizes he did make a bet. The scene is set 5 minutes before the after-school basketball game. On the court, Jaemin and Seungpyo face off with their teammates under a sunset sky. Seungpyo smirks, taunting Jaemin about the forehead-flicking bet, but Jaemin calmly retorts that he was about to say the same thing. Tap. The game begins as the basketball is tossed into the air. A player's arm stretches toward the ball, poised for the tip-off. Fweet! The ref's whistle blows, signaling Class 4 has the ball, as onlookers praise Seungpyo's height advantage. Chatter, chatter. A large crowd of students watches intently, wondering how the teams will play under so much pressure. Onlookers note that, as predicted, Jaemin is playing center specifically to guard Seungpyo. Jaemin glares with determination, knowing he has to mark Seungpyo, their team's main scorer. Seungpyo smirks confidently, doubting a first-timer like Jaemin can match him. Flap, the scoreboard shows a lopsided score as a frustrated player demands the ball, determined to get through. Fweet! With a quick dash, a player dribbles the ball down the court. Tap, tap. Whoosh, Seungpyo easily moves in, blocking the player's path. The crowd murmurs, impressed that Seungpyo is playing defense in the middle and completely shutting his opponent down. Dash. The player tries to break through, but pauses, completely halted by Seungpyo's intimidating defense. The player sweats, frustrated that he can't get past him at all. Snatch. Seungpyo deftly steals the ball, leaving the other player yelping in surprise. With a jolt, Seungpyo dashes away with the ball, as his opponents flinch, realizing they're all bunched up. Dash. Jaemin chases after him, realizing with dread that Seungpyo is just too fast. Whoosh! Seungpyo leaps gracefully and scores another basket. Whoa! The spectators erupt, amazed by Seungpyo's skill and declaring that Class 2 stands no chance. Sweet! Jaemin remembers his team's instructions to just stay under the basket since he's tall. He recalls someone mentioning that Seungpyo finds playing under the basket boring. Seungpyo taunts him for not touching the ball, but Jaemin claims he's playing center defender because it's easier. Arga, a teammate, yells at another for trying to get past Seungpyo, telling him to just pass the ball instead. Grit, Jaemin internally fumes, unable to believe he can't even block the arrogant prick. Grab, a player quickly passes the ball upon receiving it. Whoosh. A teammate throws the ball across the court shouting Jaemin's name. Grab, Jaemin secures the basketball, his expression intense. Glance, he holds the ball, ready to make his move. Jaemin stands his ground, facing off against an opposing player. Tap tap, the defender anticipates. Jaemin will fake a shot and then run. Smirk, the defender plans to ignore the first move, but Jaemin swooshes past him. Jolt, the defender is stunned, suddenly recognizing the play Jaemin is using. FWIP, Jaemin leaps for a layup, thinking it's too straightforward. Wham! He dunks the ball for a score. Wipe. The crowd cheers wildly as Jaemin smiles, wiping sweat from his chin. Seungpyo's teammates are stunned, with one complaining he couldn't block a rookie, but the player claims he just let his guard down. Jaemin's teammates rush over to celebrate, praising his cool dunking skills. Fweet, swoosh! The opposing team scores a basket just as easily. Fweet, toss. The ball is thrown back into play. A teammate tells Seungpyo to switch to center, but Seungpyo complains that the position is no fun. His teammate insists, pointing out that Jaemin is too tall for anyone else, and Seungpyo is the only one who can block him. Ha, Seungpyo reluctantly agrees, sighing that he's only doing it because of their bet. Step, tap, Seungpyo complains about Jaemin sticking to him, but Jaemin calmly replies that it's just normal defense. Turn, Seungpyo accuses Jaemin of pulling his clothes and playing dirty, but Jaemin mutters that he expected this and has been keeping his hands to himself, feeling strange being this close to someone. Turn, Jaemin looks away, admitting to himself that the close proximity feels awkward. Bustle. The game continues at a fast pace as players call for passes. Swish, a player moves quickly on the court. Seungpyo stares down at Jaemin with an intense, unreadable expression. Gulp, flustered by the proximity, Jaemin thinks he can't focus while Seungpyo seems equally affected. Drip, a bead of sweat rolls down a player's side. Swish, Jaemin turns away, flustered. The scene focuses on Jaemin's back as he stands on the court. Jolt, a teammate's voice snaps Seungpyo out of his thoughts, asking what he's doing. Step, Jaemin apologizes for being lost in thought and quickly regains his focus, dribbling the ball. Toss, jump. Jaemin goes for a shot while Seungpyo leaps to block him. Swoosh, the ball sinks perfectly through the net. Tap, tap. The ball bounces silently after the score. The crowd erupts, shocked that Jaemin got past Seungpyo, and realizing the game's outcome is now uncertain. Seungpyo's teammates confront him in disbelief, asking what they'll do if even he can't block Jaemin. FWIP, Seungpyo sighs in frustration, again complaining that he didn't want to play center. Staring, he glares at the scoreboard, which now shows his team losing 29-35. With renewed focus, Seungpyo declares that he'll start playing properly now. From the sidelines, the two teachers observe, with one noting his class has loosened up and is now skyrocketing. Grab, dash. Jaemin quickly intercepts a pass meant for Seungpyo. Dash, turn. Seungpyo immediately confronts Jaemin, who knows he's their last chance. Jaemin and Seungpyo face off, their expressions locked in fierce determination. Whoosh, Seungpyo crouches, ready to defend against Jaemin's next move. Dash, Jaemin dribbles low, tightly guarded by a determined Seungpyo. Smirk, Seungpyo eyes him with a confident, challenging grin. Stumble, Seungpyo's foot slips for a split second. Toss, seeing his opening, Seungpyo realizes he was too slow as Jaemin goes for a shot. Clunk, swoosh. The ball hits the rim but falls through the net for a score. Seungpyo watches with a faint, knowing smirk. Clap, his teammates celebrate the incredible fadeaway shot, jokingly calling him Mike Jordan. Clench, Jaemin grits his teeth, frustrated that he could have blocked the shot and confused by the nickname. A player on Jaemin's team calls for a timeout. Fweet. The ref signals for the game to restart. Glance, Jaemin eyes Seungpyo warily as he stands behind him. During the timeout huddle, a teammate tells Jaemin he will pass to him, admitting Class 4's defense is on another level. The teammate encourages Jaemin, reminding him that since he's the same height as Seungpyo, he has a good chance in a one-on-one. With a determined gaze, Jaemin agrees to the plan. Grasping, clutching the ball tightly, Jaemin steels himself as his teammates cheer him on. Dash, Jaemin races toward the basket with the ball. Whoosh, he leaps high, aiming for the hoop. Seungpyo appears, easily blocking Jaemin's shot and taunting him. Whap! With a powerful slap, Seungpyo knocks the ball away. Fweet. Thud. Jaemin falls to the ground, stunned as the ball rolls away. Dazed and on the ground, Jaemin wonders if he really just fell. Seungpyo reaches out, telling Jaemin that he has a good chance of scoring, but that his moves are far too predictable, he says with a smirk. Frowning, Jaemin silently looks down at the ground. Seungpyo insists, telling a hesitant Jaemin to take his hand. Whap! Jaemin angrily slaps Seungpyo's offered hand away. FWIP, getting up on his own, Jaemin ignores Seungpyo's shocked expression. Thwack. He purposefully bumps Seungpyo's shoulder as he walks past him. Seungpyo looks on, annoyed and confused by Jaemin's attitude. Staring at Jaemin's back, Seungpyo quietly observes him. Seungpyo realizes Jaemin is intensely competitive, thinking he might get hit if he's not careful. Tap! Jaemin picks up the ball as Seungpyo thinks that whether falling is a big deal depends on the person. Step. FWIP, Seungpyo anticipates Jaemin will try the same play again. Jaemin quickly turns, pivoting on his feet. Jolt. With a toss, Seungpyo realizes in shock that Jaemin is copying his fadeaway technique. Whoosh. Jaemin jumps into a perfect fadeaway shot as Seungpyo steps forward too late. The crowd on the bleachers watches in absolute silence. Clunk. The ball hits the rim of the basket. Clunk. Seungpyo watches, speechless as the ball drops in. Chills run down the spines of the other players, who are frozen in disbelief. Confused by the sudden silence, Jaemin asks his team if he committed a foul. Whisper, his teammates marvel that he just pulled off a fadeaway shot in his first game. Whoa, the crowd and his team erupt in cheers, celebrating his incredible shot. Seungpyo's teammates whisper in awe, debating if Jaemin is a genius or a hustler. The blonde teammate shrugs, guessing Jaemin just practiced before the game. In a flashback, Jaemin's form is shown, reaching for a shot. Seungpyo internally disagrees, knowing that level of skill isn't from simple practice. During a huddle, Seungpyo decides to take the free roll again, while a teammate asks what to do about Jaemin. Seungpyo tells them to handle Jaemin while he focuses on increasing their score. Wham! Seungpyo powerfully dunks the ball for another score. Thwack! He immediately steals the ball from an opposing player. Gah! The player yelps in frustration as Seungpyo effortlessly bypasses him. Fweet. The final whistle blows, signaling the end of the game with a score of 57-81. Jaemin's team collapses in exhaustion, regretting the bet they made. The teachers celebrate their win by ordering coffee, with one happily requesting extra cream. Jaemin looks downcast, lamenting that if only he'd been a little better. Chatter, his teammates surround him, praising his performance and begging him to join them for the next game. A teammate jokes that if Seungpyo is Zordon, then Jaemin can be LeBron James, to which he awkwardly agrees. Crack, their attention shifts to Seungpyo, who is cracking his knuckles with a grim look. Crack, hee. Seungpyo laughs menacingly, thinking Jaemin must be having the time of his life. As Seungpyo's group walks away, Jaemin watches them go. Seungpyo smirks, reminding Jaemin he's in trouble and about to get a hole in his forehead. Snicker, Jaemin thinks what an annoying piece of shit Seungpyo is as a tiny version of him mocks him. Seungpyo gestures for Jaemin to follow, suggesting they go somewhere private to avoid the teachers. With a look of utter frustration, Jaemin thinks, damn it. The scene transitions to the exterior of the high school building. In an empty hallway, Seungpyo reminds Jaemin of their deal regarding the 10 forehead flicks. Seungpyo, lying on a desk, tells Jaemin to delete the recording and bring his phone tomorrow. Step, Jaemin walks toward him in the classroom. Jaemin stands silently before Seungpyo, his expression unreadable. Hee, Seungpyo smirks, telling Jaemin he'd better close his eyes. Clench, Jaemin closes his eyes, thinking he doesn't need to be told twice. Clench, Seungpyo begins his countdown as Jaemin's hand tightens on a desk. Flick, Seungpyo fakes the flick, making Jaemin flinch back in anticipation. Stumble, Jaemin blinks, startled by the feint. Smirk, Seungpyo grabs Jaemin's tie, smugly telling him not to dodge and asking if he's scared. Grab, Jaemin clutches his collar, thinking this isn't gonna work. Seungpyo puts a hand on Jaemin's shoulder, saying he'll hold him still so he can't dodge. He readies his fingers again, counting down as Jaemin watches anxiously. Clench, Jaemin squeezes his eyes shut, bracing for the impact. 2. Peek, Jaemin opens his eyes, confused when he feels nothing. Poofed, Seungpyo's hand trembles as he struggles to hold back laughter. Wahaha, he explodes with laughter, mocking Jaemin for being scared after agreeing to the bet. As Seungpyo howls with laughter, Jaemin trembles with frustration, vowing to wipe that smug look off his face. Jaemin tells him to get it over with, needing to leave for the academy, and Seungpyo agrees. Tap, counting to 3, Seungpyo gently taps Jaemin on the forehead. Press, Jaemin stares in confusion, asking what he's doing. Seungpyo dismisses the bet, telling Jaemin he'll let him off the hook this time. He smugly explains that He was just playing along to avoid trouble with the school violence committee. Jaemin rubs his forehead, thinking Seungpyo is just twisting things to suit himself. Seungpyo quietly asks if Jaemin wanted him to apologize. Jaemin admits he was just ticked off by the threats and asks if they can call it even. Blush, Jaemin is flustered, wondering why the winner is apologizing. Ahem. He awkwardly asks about the photos Seungpyo claimed to have saved, but Seungpyo says he doesn't have any. Step. Seungpyo walks away, admitting he made up the photos just to scare him. Clack, he heads for the door, reminding Jaemin he needs to get to the academy. Walking down the hall, Seungpyo admits he thought Jaemin was underestimating basketball by making the bet. He then praises Jaemin for giving it his all, confessing that perhaps he was the one underestimating things. Puffed! Seungpyo smiles, simply saying, just everything. Step. He pauses at the end of the hall, turning back to Jaemin. Turn, he waves, reminding Jaemin not to forget his phone tomorrow before leaving. Jaemin quietly agrees as he watches Seungpyo go. The scene shifts to a tall, modern building at night called MJ Universal Castle. Jaemin arrives home to find an older woman waiting, who notes he's late. Fidget, the woman nervously tries to explain something. A voice calls for Jaemin from inside, as the woman quickly says goodbye and leaves. Step. Jaemin enters a lavish living room where a man and woman demand an explanation. His phone sits on the table. He panics, wondering how they found his hidden phone. The woman explains they found it while cleaning, and asks if it's someone's old phone, but Jaemin claims it belongs to his friend, Seungpyo. The man declares he will have to check with Seungpyo himself, causing Jaemin to worry. Clench. Jaemin's fist tightens as the man says he'll go through the school, fearing they'll find another weakness. Jaemin quickly lies, saying he has the phone to return to Seungpyo tomorrow. He continues the lie, claiming he found it after Seungpyo dropped it, while the woman mutters that it looks like Somin's phone. Grab. The man takes the phone, stating he'll check it himself before giving it back. Jaemin internally panics, realizing his father's call to Seungpyo will expose everything. His father questions his story about the phone, refusing to return it until he inspects it himself. His mother quietly mutters that they discovered the phone while cleaning his room. Jaemin confronts them, asking why they were searching through his private drawers. HMPH, his father dismissively explains they asked the housekeeper to do a deep clean and report any problematic items. Jaemin is appalled to learn the housekeeper went through his drawers at his parents' request. With a bitter laugh, Jaemin realizes why the housekeeper looked so nervous earlier. His father angrily accuses him of being defiant, but Jaemin defends himself, questioning their constant suspicion. Flinch, Jaemin recoils in shock as his father reveals that the academy teacher called them. His mother explains the teacher was worried about his recent tardiness, but Jaemin claims he was just studying late at school. Spring, his father stands up, vowing to confirm Jaemin's stories with his homeroom teacher. Step, his father walks away, ordering him to go to his study later to reflect on his actions. Slam, a door shuts, leaving Jaemin standing alone and defeated in the vast, silent living room. The scene shifts to the next day, showing an empty classroom as morning classes are about to begin. Clap, the teacher cheerfully congratulates the students who participated in the basketball game. The students gossip, realizing the teacher is happy because he won a coffee bet against another class's teacher. FWIP. A student cheekily asks for a reward, prompting playful scolding from the teacher. Whoa! To everyone's shock, the teacher announces he's treating the entire class to burgers. Smile, sitting by the window, Seungpyo muses that their teacher must have really wanted them to win. He looks out at the empty basketball court, admitting to himself that he wanted to win just as badly. Clench. He closes his eyes for a moment, recalling the intensity of the game. Smile. He thinks back on the match, conceding that it wasn't a bad experience at all. He spots the players from Class 2 nearby, recognizing the team they played against. The other students greet Seungpyo, asking if he has seen Jaemin, who hasn't shown up to school yet. Seungpyo's expression turns serious as he realizes Jaemin has already missed the first period. Whisper, his teammates worry that Jaemin got in trouble with his notoriously strict parents for playing basketball. Step, just as they're speculating, Jaemin appears at the end of the hall. Jaemin reassures his worried friends, explaining that an urgent matter at home made him late. Glance, he laughs awkwardly, trying to brush off their concerns that he was in trouble. Whisper, Seungpyo quietly leans in to ask for his phone back, catching Jaemin by surprise. Seungpyo postpones the conversation until after class, leaving a confused Jaemin waiting. Step, as Seungpyo walks away, he wonders why Jaemin is being hesitant, guessing it's because others are watching. Bustle, At a convenience store, the winning team playfully argues over the spoils of their bet. Bustle, one of the teammates generously offers to pay for everyone's snacks at once. A teammate asks where Jaemin is, and another mentions he seems unwell and skipped lunch. Glance, Seungpyo overhears their conversation, his expression growing concern. His gaze shifts to the drink cooler, focusing on the cartons of chocolate milk. Later, back in the classroom, Jaemin is confused to find a carton of chocolate milk on his desk. Ha! Holding the drink, Jaemin sighs wearily before turning to ask his teammates about it. They offer him some bread, but Jaemin is more curious about where the chocolate milk came from. A friend reveals that Seungpyo bought it for him, joking that it might improve his grades. Jaemin stares at the drink, stunned to learn that Seungpyo, the other top student, had bought it for him. Tap. A brief flashback shows Seungpyo quietly placing the carton of milk on Jaemin's desk. Jaemin looks down, lost in thought as he processes Seungpyo's unexpected kindness. In the teacher's resource room, Jaemin impatiently asks Seungpyo why he dragged him there just to return a phone. He holds out the phone to Seungpyo, ready to end the exchange. Seungpyo sighs in frustration, looking at the phone and stating that it isn't his. Annoyed, Seungpyo asks if Jaemin brought the wrong one and impatiently tells him to just keep it. Clench, as Seungpyo insists, Jaemin fidgets nervously before finally confessing that he lost the real phone. Seungpyo stares back at him in stunned silence, simply asking, "What?" Seungpyo internally seethes, questioning how Jaemin could lose the phone after dragging things out. Jaemin wonders if the phone was lost from the start and the bet was just a stalling tactic. A brief, happier memory shows Seungpyo and Jaemin walking together and smiling. Grit, Seungpyo's jaw tightens in fury as he realizes Jaemin might be messing with him. Are you kidding me? Seungpyo furiously demands to know how his phone was lost. Jaemin explains he tried to keep it safe, but suspects the housekeeper accidentally threw it out. Seungpyo rejects the replacement phone, demanding money or a new model instead of the old one. When Jaemin admits he doesn't have enough allowance, Seungpyo scoffs and tells him to ask his rich parents. Flinch, Jaemin recoils as Seungpyo threatens to call his parents himself. Clench, Seungpyo internally fumes, thinking Jaemin is playing the victim again and regretting his brief moment of respect for him. FWIP, Jaemin reluctantly agrees to tell his parents, deciding it's the best option. Shake, Seungpyo recoils in disgust, refusing to touch the dirty phone he claims Jaemin used with perverts. Seungpyo accuses Jaemin of losing the phone while doing shady things, which Jaemin heatedly denies. Smirk, Seungpyo cruelly suggests that if he can't tell his parents, he should get money from his clients for a new phone. Jaemin snaps back, reminding Seungpyo that he was the one being blackmailed and that he already apologized for losing the phone. Seungpyo laughs mockingly, stating his sympathy ended when Jaemin started looking down on him. He questions Jaemin's hypocrisy, asking why he fears his parents but not the strangers he meets. With a menacing glare, Seungpyo warns Jaemin that he messed with the wrong person. Jaemin grits his teeth, stunned and angered by Seungpyo's vicious insult. Seungpyo confronts Jaemin's defiant stare, demanding to know what he's looking at. Smirk, Jaemin turns the tables with a provocative question. Does me being a slut turn you on? Chills, Seungpyo is shocked speechless as Jaemin accuses him of being secretly obsessed, just like people who leave nasty comments. Seungpyo freezes, realizing Jaemin is calling out his lie about the online account. Step, Jaemin closes the distance, reminding Seungpyo of his curiosity about his supposed slutty behavior. Clack, Jaemin unbuckles his belt, offering to show him the dirty things he wants to see. Chills, a stunned Seungpyo nervously asks what he's doing. Tug, Jaemin lifts his shirt, defiantly offering to give Seungpyo the show he's been asking for. Stumble, fidget, Seungpyo backs away, completely flustered by Jaemin's bold move. Tap, he bumps into a shelf, cornered and startled by Jaemin's advance. Shudder, Seungpyo frantically tells him to stop, reminding him they're at school. FWIP, undeterred, Jaemin covers his mouth with his shirt collar. The sounds of heavy breathing fill the silent storeroom. Seungpyo stares, his mind racing with a single thought. Fuck. As Jaemin begins to pleasure himself, Seungpyo realizes he's deliberately mimicking the video. Chills, panicked, Seungpyo mentally screams at himself to push Jaemin away and not to look. Slide. Jaemin bites down on his shirt, his actions becoming more intense. Quiver. His face flushes as he muffles a sound of pleasure. Gulp! Seungpyo swallows hard, undeniably affected by the scene unfolding before him. Leaning against a box, a flushed Jaemin glances back at Seungpyo. Jaemin asks if the display lived up to Seungpyo's expectations. Tug, pulling his shirt down. Jaemin confesses he did it all. Smile. To relieve his stress, Riley admitting he is, after all, a perverted fucking slut. Step, creak. Jaemin calmly walks out, saying he needs to clean up, leaving a stunned Seungpyo behind. Slam. The door closes, and Seungpyo is left standing alone in the storeroom. Clench. Seungpyo's fist tightens before he slides to the floor, breathless. His mind reels as he wonders if Jaemin just decided to use him. He runs a hand through his hair, blushing as he realizes Jaemin might have used him as an outlet. A tense moment passes as he sits on the floor, trying to process what happened. Splash, splash. The scene shifts to Seungpyo desperately washing his face in the bathroom. Drip, drip, creak. He grips a cup, water running down his face as he tries to compose himself. Drip. In the bathroom, Seungpyo glares at Jaemin, threatening to kill him tomorrow. Step, step. Back in the classroom, a tired Seungpyo notices a carton of chocolate milk on a desk. He recognizes the chocolate milk he bought earlier. Grit. With a curse, he angrily grabs the milk carton. Whoosh. He snatches the chocolate milk off the desk. FWIP. With a frustrated sigh, he turns and walks away. The carton of chocolate milk is tossed into a trash bin. Chirp, chirp. The scene transitions to an outside view of the school building. Slam! Someone's feet hit the ground as they shout for Ryu Jaemin. Stab, stab. Students whisper about Seungpyo looking angry, wondering if he and Jaemin fought. Glance, glance. Seungpyo enters a classroom asking two friends if Jaemin is there. Jaemin's friends say they don't know and ask if the two of them fought. Pout. The friends press for answers, confused by his silence about their relationship. Seungpyo listens to them with a stern, annoyed expression. Whoa! In a frantic flashback, Seungpyo dashes away, blaming Jaemin for violating his eyes. Mutter. Back at home, a dazed Seungpyo insists he didn't see anything as his brother asks what he's doing. His brother scolds him for leaving the refrigerator open, thinking he's screwed up big time. A dark aura surrounds Seungpyo as he fumes about Jaemin missing class after everything he did. He rubs his neck, telling Jaemin's friend that he needs something returned to him. Rattle, Seungpyo enters another classroom, claiming he just came to hang out. A student correctly guesses he's looking for Jaemin to get something back. Seungpyo confirms it's a phone, wondering how the other student knew. The student explains Jaemin's parents called about the phone and asks if Jaemin is absent today. Jolt, Seungpyo is visibly shocked to hear Jaemin will no longer be attending extra classes. The student explains Jaemin will study at home, then rushes off as another teacher yells at students in the hall. Chills, Seungpyo seethes, thinking Jaemin is pissing him off until the very end. Plop, he sits down in class, frustrated he can't confront Jaemin, as a friend asks where he was. He suddenly remembers something, asking his friend if he goes to the same academy as Jaemin. Murmur, looking over the classroom, he asks his friend if Jaemin attended class yesterday. His friend gets flustered, insisting they aren't close when Seungpyo pressures him to ask. Seungpyo smiles, making an excuse that he might join the academy since second year is approaching. The friend offers to go register with him, but Seungpyo seems hesitant to rush into it. Tug. Seungpyo lifts his shirt suggestively, offering to show him the dirty things he does. The friend is left blushing and completely flustered by the provocative offer. Clench. He grips his pants tightly, cursing under his breath in frustration. Flustered, the friend agrees they should go to the academy before the holidays end. Turn. His friends are shocked to hear he's going to an academy, but he brushes it off. He leans on his desk with a sly smile, saying he's just trying it out. Seungpyo stands before the academy, thinking he won't let Jaemin off the hook. Frowning, walking through the city at night, he resolves that Jaemin must take responsibility. Whir, step, step. He and Jaemin enter the academy building together. Jaemin greets the receptionist while Seungpyo watches from behind. The receptionist asks Jaemin if he came with Seungpyo, whom he's never seen before. Jaemin explains to the receptionist that Seungpyo is there to sign up for the intensive course. Tilt, Seungpyo leans in, asking Jaemin about using his phone for the attendance app. Jaemin explains that phones aren't required and that an attendance card also works. As the receptionist returns, Seungpyo tells Jaemin he's going to the bathroom. The receptionist explains the curriculum, and Jaemin asks to log his attendance with a card since he doesn't have his phone. Slide. The receptionist hands over a clipboard, telling him to fill out the marked sections. Lin Seungpyo peeks around a corner, searching for Ryu Jaemin. Pop, Seungpyo greets Jaemin at the academy, telling him to head in. An instructor tells Jaemin he can take any empty seat in the classroom. Tap, sitting down, Seungpyo silently scans the quiet classroom. As students whisper, and he writes, Seungpyo realizes Jaemin isn't at the academy either. Frowning, he grows increasingly frustrated by Jaemin's absence. Step. Seungpyo walks through the academy halls. He notes how quiet it is, and recalls being told that Jaemin quit. Pause. He overhears two staff members whispering about Ilyang's top-ranked first-year student. Seungpyo turns, realizing they're talking about Ryu Jaemin. The staff members continue to whisper, wondering if they should have told Jaemin's parents he was late for self-study. Clench, Seungpyo's hand tightens into a fist as he confirms Jaemin isn't coming. Turn, step, he walks away as other students gossip nearby. A sliding door marks a scene transition. Tap, waiting for the elevator, Seungpyo gets frustrated and decides to get some air. He stops short, surprised by what he sees. A girl with long brown hair recognizes him, calling out his name. The girl stands looking at her phone, wearing a beige jacket over her uniform. Beep, Seungpyo approaches her at a vending machine, commenting that it's been ages. Clunk, she agrees it's their first time meeting since middle school. Lean, as she gets her drink. He recalls their past closeness, a stark contrast to his relationship with Jaemin. FWIP, he hands her a drink to celebrate, and she asks if his grades dropped in high school. Clack, she opens her can, asking if he also decided to focus more on his studies. Gulp, he replies that he's maintaining his grades, and she chuckles, calling him insufferable. Creak, she nervously asks if he's still in touch with Soo-hyun. He explains that Jung Soo-hyun is pursuing a career as an idol after becoming a trainee. She asks why he's asking her, explaining they've drifted apart since starting different schools. Creak, he admits it's been a while for him too, blaming his missing phone. A teacher tells them class is starting, interrupting their conversation. They wish each other good luck before parting ways for class. Creak, glance, Seungpyo enters the classroom, seeing it's still empty of the person he's looking for. He regrets signing up, realizing he's trapped because he already took the academy fees from his brother. Slump, with a sigh, he rests his head on his desk, resigned to his fate. He laments that he can't find Jaemin, and couldn't even talk to his old friend. Frustrated, he feels like nothing is going right, and he's stuck. He closes his eyes, wishing he could just be an adult already. In the faculty room, a teacher returns a phone to Jaemin. Russell, Jaemin questions why his phone is in a plastic bag as a blonde-haired man dismissively tells him to leave. Press, standing in the hall, Jaemin powers on his phone. Ding! The phone lights up, and he feels a sense of nostalgia seeing his old background. His friends excitedly greet him, surprised he has a phone again, but one recognizes it's his old one. Jaemin explains someone returned his lost phone, and his friends joke about the delay. Snicker. Tap. Jaemin scrolls through his phone, then pauses on a particular image. He looks thoughtful, remembering something about the photo. Click. In a flashback, he recalls taking a photo of Seungpyo's back to motivate himself. Stare. Back in the present, Seungpyo wonders if he'll be able to beat Jaemin next year. Rub. He massages his neck, wondering what Jaemin is doing. His eyes narrow in thought as a question forms in his mind. Chirp, chirp, rattle. Time passes to the start of second year, and Seungpyo arrives early to class. Pause. He stops in the doorway, spotting someone already inside. He silently observes the person sitting by the window. Jaemin peers into the classroom, surprised to see someone already there. He notes with surprise that the other person is there early. Jaemin and Seungpyo share a silent, tense stare from across the room. Clack, two classmates arrive, cheerfully greeting Jaemin and teasing them for being the top two students who are always early. They express their concern over Jaemin's absence, but he explains his parents just wanted him to study at home. A friend questions him about skipping the academy, while another playfully accuses him of trying to learn Jaemin's study secrets. Rummage. Seungpyo reflects that since few chose physics, all the high-ranking students, including Jaemin, are now in his class. Chatter. Other students in the room complain about the academic pressure they face from their parents at home. Glance. Watching Jaemin, Seungpyo feels that something about his story is strange. Stare. Seungpyo looks at his phone, puzzled why Jaemin claimed it was lost but returned it through a teacher like criminal evidence. Gasp. A horrifying thought strikes Seungpyo as he imagines a news report on child abuse, wondering if Jaemin was confined and searched by his parents. A classmate snaps Seungpyo out of his thoughts by calling his name, leaving him flustered. His friend mentions wanting to play basketball again with Jaemin, who seems hesitant to agree. Seungpyo dismisses his own concerns, convinced Jaemin is treated like a prince at home as Jaemin vaguely agrees to play later. Ring. The bell signals the end of the day as students begin to file out of the classroom. Yawn outside. Seungpyo stretches wearily as a friend asks about his plans for the academy. Seungpyo says he'll think about it, though he admits to himself that he already registered out of anger. His friend encourages him to join the same academy before they part ways for the day. Screech! Seungpyo watches in surprise as a black car pulls up for Jaemin, and he wonders how to approach him. Clack! As Jaemin gets into the car, Seungpyo realizes he has a personal driver, cementing his belief that Jaemin was born rich. Step, Seungpyo walks alone, pondering whether Jaemin is headed home or to the academy. Pause. He suddenly stops in his tracks. Screech! A public bus pulls up to the stop, momentarily blocking his view. Rattle! The doors of the bus are open and empty. Room. Seungpyo looks around in confusion, searching for the car and wondering where Jaemin disappeared to. Clack! He spots Jaemin getting out of the car nearby and realizes he's found him. The scene blurs, showing the bustle of pedestrians on the street. Step. Seungpyo follows Jaemin from a distance as they both walk down the crowded sidewalk. As they near the academy district, Seungpyo debates whether he should catch up or wait. Turn, pause. He stops short as Jaemin unexpectedly changes direction, leaving him confused. Step. Seungpyo follows cautiously, wondering where Jaemin is going if not to the academy. FWIP. Jaemin quickly ducks into a narrow side alley. Whoosh. Standing alone in the alley, Jaemin silently surveys his surroundings. Peek. Seungpyo secretly watches from the corner as Jaemin walks deeper into the alley. Thump. Hiding behind a column, Seungpyo's heart pounds as he questions why he's acting so suspiciously. Glance. He peeks out again, still trying to figure out Jaemin's destination. Frown. Seungpyo lets out a frustrated sigh. He eyes the dilapidated building Jaemin entered, thinking he must be crazy. Creak. Step. Jaemin slips through a door marked "No Entry" into a dark, derelict building. Step. The sound of his footsteps echoes. From Seungpyo's hiding spot, he sees Jaemin disappear completely inside. Glancing on the building's rooftop, Jaemin calmly lights a cigarette. Turn. He exhales slowly, turning to ask an unsurprised Seungpyo how he was found. Seungpyo angrily confronts him, questioning his priorities and accusing him of smoking to avoid being photographed. Chuckle. Jaemin taunts him, suggesting Seungpyo followed him because he was secretly dying to see him take more photos. Grr. Seungpyo furiously denies having any such interest in what Jaemin did to him. As Jaemin continues smoking, Seungpyo internally fumes, wondering why he's so calm. Jaemin extinguishes his cigarette and tells Seungpyo to move, but Seungpyo asks if he's smoking because of stress again. Seungpyo questions why a smart person like Jaemin resorts to smoking and taking perverted photos to relieve stress. He flashes back to a memory of Jaemin laughing genuinely while playing basketball with his friends. Step. Tap. Seungpyo confronts Jaemin, asking why he won't play basketball with everyone. Clench. Seungpyo internally fumes, frustrated that Jaemin wants to hang with perverts instead. Pause. Jaemin stops, glancing back at a fuming Seungpyo. Tap. Seungpyo puts a hand on Jaemin's shoulder, suggesting they ditch the academy to save this lunatic. FWIP. Jaemin pushes his hand away, insisting they can't just leave because the teachers check everything. Seungpyo holds up 3 fingers, proposing a 30-minute detour and revealing he plans to register at the academy too. Jaemin questions what they would do, while Seungpyo internally rules out playing basketball nearby. Snicker. Seungpyo taps his phone, taunting Jaemin about being scared while Jaemin realizes his intentions. Seungpyo calls the academy to report their delay, privately hoping to get Jaemin addicted to having fun. FWIP. He proudly shows Jaemin the call log, prompting Jaemin to question the 30-minute plan. Grab. Seungpyo takes Jaemin's hand, dismissing his worries about getting in trouble for being late. Dash. Smiling, Seungpyo confidently leads a bewildered Jaemin away. Bustle. They arrive at a busy building with a large Gameland sign. Jaemin stares at the sign, realizing with surprise that they're at an arcade. Gulp. He swallows nervously, wondering if Seungpyo actually intends to go inside. Chuckle. Seungpyo reassures a worried Jaemin that it's not a place they shouldn't be. FWIP. He beckons Jaemin forward, telling him to relax since it's just an arcade. Step. Glance. Seungpyo enters the arcade as Jaemin hesitates at the door. Beep blip. Inside, a couple plays a claw machine, the girl urging him on after a near miss. Blip blip. A group of boys heckles their friend playing a fighting game, eager for their turn. Bustle. Chatter. Jaemin notices the arcade is crowded with students from their school. FWIP. Glance. He anxiously covers his face, worried about being recognized. Turn. Seungpyo notices Jaemin's anxiety and asks what game he wants to play. Plop. Seungpyo drapes his hoodie over Jaemin's head, jokingly asking if he's a celebrity. He tells Jaemin to stop being so self-conscious about being seen. Jaemin questions the gesture, and Seungpyo tells him to use the hood to hide his face. Kreveft, Jaemin complains that he looks like a criminal, and Seungpyo can't help but agree. Seungpyo smirks that the look suits him, while Jaemin silently wishes he could fight back. Smirk. Bottom. Seungpyo warns him not to lose the hoodie, making Jaemin's heart race. Press. Jaemin holds the hoodie close, noticing that it smells like Seungpyo. Seungpyo points out a shooting game, calling it perfect for a psycho like Jaemin. Clack, clack. He inserts a coin, declaring they're jumping right in. Bang. Seungpyo immediately starts playing, urging a hesitant Jaemin to grab a gun. Bang, bang. They play side by side as Seungpyo directs Jaemin to cover his side. Bang. Jaemin's expression becomes focused as he gets into the game. A small smile appears on Jaemin's face as he realizes he's actually having fun. Tap. Seungpyo puts his gun down to leave, but Jaemin protests, saying they still have lives left. Seungpyo says they only have 10 minutes left and should try other games, though Jaemin wants to stay. Spotting an empty music booth, Seungpyo suggests they go sing instead. Plop. He pulls a surprised Jaemin into the cramped karaoke booth. FWIP. Seungpyo hands Jaemin the songbook, telling him to pick something quickly. Jaemin feels anxious, having never sung in public, especially not in front of Seungpyo. FWIP. Seungpyo passes the book to Jaemin, letting him go first. Whap! He presses the book on a flustered Jaemin, insisting he sing first due to time. Boom, boom! Seungpyo hesitantly tests the mic, already regretting his choice of activity. Boom, boom. The music starts as Jaemin watches, the lyrics reflecting a sense of mania. Boom. Jaemin watches in awe as Seungpyo gets into the song, singing with surprising passion. Boom, boom. As Seungpyo continues his performance, Jaemin thinks that he's trying really hard. Click. Beep. Seungpyo cuts the song short to save time and asks Jaemin what he's chosen. Stare, tremble. Seungpyo leans in to see what's wrong as he notices Jaemin is shaking. Waha. Still wearing the hoodie, Jaemin bursts into unrestrained laughter. Ha ha, he continues laughing, calling out Seungpyo's name with a smile. Seungpyo stares back, silent and visibly annoyed. Peeved, Jaemin mocks Seungpyo, telling him he's a terrible singer who is completely offbeat, while Seungpyo internally fumes at the insult. Seungpyo asks why he was shaking so much if he can't sing, but Jaemin shrugs it off, saying all that matters is having fun as he takes the songbook. Jaemin refuses to sing, saying he had fun just watching, as Seungpyo tells him that's why he'd never be a celebrity and urges him to pick a song. Seungpyo smirks, saying Jaemin's reluctance is perfect, and that he's been looking for a way to get back at him for his previous actions. Seungpyo challenges Jaemin to sing, promising to let it go if he does, and daring him to prove what the all-rounder Ryu Jaemin can't do. Frown, Jaemin asks why Seungpyo keeps bringing up the past, arguing that he only showed him because he was asked to. They argue intensely, with Jaemin insisting he didn't want to watch, and Seungpyo retorting that Jaemin watched willingly, not tied up. Jaemin claims he was just surprised. Jaemin lets out a heavy, frustrated sigh. He expresses his exhaustion with the conversation, thinking that Seungpyo always brings up the past just when he starts to seem decent. Jaemin collapses into a chair, telling Seungpyo to do whatever he wants to him right there, in exchange for never mentioning that incident again. Grip, Seungpyo grabs Jaemin's collar, intrigued by the offer. Lean, he looms over Jaemin, mocking his sudden bravery, while a defeated Jaemin tells him to just hit him and be done with it. Smirk, Seungpyo grabs Jaemin's tie, warning him not to cry when it hurts. Jaemin's collar is pulled open, his lips slightly parted in anticipation. He challenges Seungpyo, asking him to just do it if he's gonna hit him. Whoosh, in a swift motion, Seungpyo pushes Jaemin down onto the seat. Jolt, pinned down and startled, Jaemin asks what he's doing. Seungpyo's eye narrows with intense focus. In the privacy of the small booth, Seungpyo leans in and kisses a surprised Jaemin. Bottom, as their lips meet, Jaemin's hand twitches on Seungpyo's thigh. Bottom, Jaemin's eyes are wide with shock as his heart pounds. Bottom, Seungpyo's expression is one of pure determination. Boom, boom! The beat of the music fills the air as they kiss under the hoodie. Slurp, Seungpyo deepens the kiss until Jaemin pulls back, breathlessly asking if he's crazy. Slurp, lick. Their intense kiss continues, leaving Jaemin gasping. Tingle, Jaemin's hand grips Seungpyo's leg as a sensation runs through him. Chills, twitch. Jaemin shivers and buries his face against Seungpyo, thinking he can't continue. Whap, overwhelmed, Jaemin pushes Seungpyo away, declaring, "That's enough." He pants heavily, covering his mouth in disbelief. Seungpyo looks on, flustered, and tries to say something. Toss, Seungpyo abruptly takes off his hoodie. Turn, he grabs his bag and leaves the booth, prompting Jaemin to ask where he's going. Step, step. Jaemin follows him out, muttering that Seungpyo is a crazy lunatic. Dash, as Jaemin tries to walk away, Seungpyo quickly catches up. Seungpyo angrily asks why he's being ditched, but Jaemin tells the psycho not to speak to him. Chatter. Inside the academy classroom, two students discuss a girl one of them likes. Seungpyo covers Jaemin's eyes from behind as Jaemin internally reflects on his hope to find someone in college. Pause. As Seungpyo asks if he's even listening, Jaemin miserably realizes he's just had his first kiss with a guy. Smack. Furious, Jaemin slaps Seungpyo hard across the face, yelling at him. Throb. Seungpyo holds his stinging cheek in shock, demanding to know why he was hit. He furiously asks why Jaemin is taking it out on him after initiating everything, as Jaemin fumes at his rotten temper. Huff! Jaemin angrily storms away, leaving Seungpyo to watch. They stand in awkward silence before an elevator, Seungpyo thinking that they're going to the same place anyway. Glancing, Jaemin eyes Seungpyo suspiciously, wondering when he started attending his academy, and beginning to ask a question. Seungpyo finishes his sentence, asking if he didn't like it, before darkly thinking he might actually kill him. Whoosh! Seungpyo cheekily teases Jaemin about using his tongue, earning a sharp fuck-off in return. Swoosh! Seungpyo steps into the elevator while Jaemin hesitates, wondering if he made a mistake. Slurp, lick, Seungpyo and Jaemin share an intense, messy kiss. Bottom. Jaemin clutches his chest, heart pounding as he thinks, shit. A teacher's voice reminds students to review today's class and catch the shuttle bus. Feeling tired and unfocused, Jaemin decides to take the stairs to avoid the murmuring crowd. As Jaemin walks down the stairs, Seungpyo calls out to him from behind. Jaemin turns around, questioning why Seungpyo is following him and demanding to know how his supposedly lost phone was delivered to him. Frowning, Jaemin dismisses him, saying he's busy and they'll talk tomorrow. Seungpyo smirks, telling Jaemin he was just getting payback for what he did. Grit? Jaemin internally fumes, furious that Seungpyo took his first kiss for revenge and wondering if it means nothing to him. Jaemin mutters that Seungpyo is a hypocrite for calling him a man-whore when he is the one forcing kisses. Glaring, Jaemin tells Seungpyo to stop talking and just beat him up already. Stomp, stomp, as Jaemin rushes up the stairs, an angry Seungpyo follows, demanding to know if that's all he has to say. Seungpyo watches him go, confused as to why Jaemin is angry when he started it. Plop, Seungpyo slumps onto the stairs, feeling like the victim and realizing it was his first kiss too. He presses his lips, trying to deny it was a real kiss before admitting he used his tongue. A teacher finds Seungpyo on the stairs and asks why he hasn't left, while Seungpyo regrets his impulsive actions. Seungpyo gets up to leave, telling the teacher he's going while admitting to himself he doesn't know what's happening. The scene shifts to a view of apartment buildings at night. Plop, Seungpyo collapses onto his couch at home, too exhausted to do anything. He decides to clean up later and checks his phone for something he looked up on the bus. Tap, tap, he searches on his phone for a free counseling website. Sighing, he puts his phone down, hoping for a reply by tomorrow after lying about his grade. He decides to shower and go to bed, feeling completely exhausted. Ding! His phone lights up with a notification on the empty couch. Back in his room, he decides to quickly check his phone for a reply. He's surprised to see that someone has already responded. The teenage years are often a time of self-discovery, and it's completely normal to feel unsure or curious about your sexuality as you grow and change. There's no pressure to define yourself right away, and it's okay to explore your feelings and attractions at your own pace. Reading on, he mutters that he and Jaemin aren't close friends when the reply suggests platonic feelings can feel romantic. He feels annoyed by the casual tone of the advice. Frustrated, he decides to find a different, more professional website for advice. Ding ding ding, his new post immediately gets comments, but none of them feel right to him. He swipes through his phone, feeling dejected that he'll get the same answers everywhere. Pause. He stops on a comment suggesting he tried dating a girl to see if his feelings change. He thoughtfully considers the idea of hanging out with a girl. He recalls asking a friend if they still talk to a girl named Soohyun and decides to look her up. Tap. He finds Jung Soohyun's social media profile and follows her. He sends her a message asking how she's doing. Jingle Seungpyo enters a busy coffee shop, welcomed by the staff. He glances around, searching for someone in the crowd. He reaches for a seat, assuming she hasn't arrived yet. He's surprised to get a text from her telling him to find her by the window, realizing she actually came. He flashes back to middle school when he and his friends, including a girl, would joke about going to karaoke. Sitting down, he feels unsure of what to do, realizing it's been a while since he hung out with a girl. Creak, he gasps in panic, suddenly wondering if this is a date as someone approaches from behind. Soohyun arrives with a drink and greets him, and he awkwardly says, "Hey back." They immediately start bickering, with him complaining about her being late and her retorting that it was only 5 minutes. From outside, they can be seen chatting at a table inside the coffee shop. Soohyun smiles warmly, saying it's been a while. As they talk, Seungpyo teases her about drinking a sweet beverage, despite her old complaints about being on a diet. Clack. Soohyun explains her weekly treat and asks Seungpyo why he reached out after a year. Shrug, Seungpyo awkwardly compliments her, calling her the prettiest girl he knows. Soohyun remains silent, her expression unreadable. She reacts with disgust, asking if he's hitting on her because she joined an agency, as he insists it was a compliment. Seungpyo complains about unwanted attention since joining his agency, realizing he can't vent about Jaemin to her. Frown, he internally curses. Frustrated for thinking about Jaemin again, he backpedals, claiming he was joking, and then mentions that a mutual friend, Kang Jiseon, attends his academy. Soohyun explains her busy schedule makes it difficult to keep in touch with friends like she used to. They discuss their futures, with Soohyun admitting her dancing skills are stronger than her vocals. Spring, she eagerly suggests going to karaoke, excited for a rare chance to sing for fun. Seungpyo is internally shocked by her suggestion, wondering if she's serious. She leads him to an arcade, leaving him to wonder why he ended up in the very place he's trying to forget. As Soohyun reminisces about their middle school days, Seungpyo wants to go somewhere else. He stammers, unable to explain his reluctance as she insists it's the best option. Step. She brushes off his concerns about being seen, saying she has to leave soon anyway. A flashback shows him playing a game with a cheerful Jaemin, who's taking it very seriously. Returning to Soohyun, Seungpyo lies that his brother called when she asks what took him so long. Batum. His heart pounds as he urges her to sing, thinking he'll go crazy otherwise, while she teases him about his sudden interest. Batum, the memory of his kiss with Jaemin flashes through his mind. His heart continues to pound as he thinks, damn. In the karaoke booth, Soohyun teases him about being a bad singer as she prepares to go first. Boom, he seems dazed, lost in thought as the music starts, and she wonders what he's thinking. As Soohyun sings, Seungpyo surprisingly finds himself feeling good, a smile spreading across his face. Whoa, she sings with passion, fully immersed in her performance. Wink, she finishes her song with a confident flourish. Clap, Seungpyo praises her improved singing as she shrugs, crediting her practice. Beep, he nervously selects his own song. Boom. Soohyun laughs hysterically at his terrible singing, as he scores a meager 47. The scene transitions to a quiet city street at night. Waving goodbye, Soohyun says she had fun and suggests they meet again soon. He watches her leave, telling himself it wasn't a real date, and his feelings for her haven't changed. But his heart races as he touches his lips, wondering why things with Jaemin are so different. Slump. He collapses onto the curb in despair, questioning what he should do. Two friends approach, with one asking Seungpyo what he's doing there alone. They invite him to an internet cafe, but he declines, saying he's on his way home. As he quickly leaves, his friends wonder about his strange behavior all week. The next day at school, a tired Seungpyo enters the classroom, unable to sleep after the previous night. His friends glare at him intensely, and he flinches, completely confused by their hostility. Arha, one friend explodes, calling him a traitor for secretly meeting up with Soohyun. Gra, His friend yells at him for not inviting them, but Seungpyo calmly asks what the big deal is. Seungpyo insists Soohyun wouldn't have come if they were there, leaving his friend speechless with anger. Grit. Across the room, Jaemin listens as other classmates gossip about Seungpyo's date with Soohyun. Rah, Seungpyo finally snaps, yelling at his friends to get off his back, insisting it wasn't a date. His friend shows a photo of Soohyun, muttering about what a fake friend Seungpyo is for meeting her alone. Seungpyo quietly glances over at Jaemin, who seems preoccupied with his phone. He wonders if Jaemin heard everything but assumes he wouldn't care anyway. A close-up reveals Jaemin's focused gaze. Tap. Jaemin is looking at Young Soo-yoon's social media profile on his phone. He taps on one of her photos, thinking to himself that she's pretty and sounds like an aspiring idol. Frown, Jaemin wonders why a pretty girl would date a piece of shit. He scrolls through her photos, noting they even went to karaoke. Grit, clench, he grips his phone, angrily wondering if Seungpyo kissed her too. Step, chatter, students, including Jaemin and Seungpyo, head to their first music class. Chatter. Outside the classroom, students assume the first day will be easy. WAP, a teacher with long, light green hair enters, telling the class to settle down. Tap. The teacher types, while explaining the performance evaluation. The teacher displays a list of songs for the singing and instrumental tests. The teacher details the homework, encouraging the students to enjoy music and have fun. Seungpyo looks stressed, admitting he's not confident in any of those options. FWIP, the teacher asks for the class president, and Seungpyo reluctantly raises his hand. Seungpyo confirms he's president, silently hoping he won't be given any tasks. Jolt, the teacher puts him on the spot, asking him to sing a song to demonstrate. Whoa, slam! A classmate blurts out that Seungpyo went to karaoke with a girl, causing Seungpyo to slam his music stand in anger. Clap, the teacher teases him about his date, urging him to sing, while classmates snicker. Ha! Another student encourages Seungpyo to sing for the class, but he sighs, knowing it won't affect his grade. Sigh, creak, he slumps in his chair, feeling it's pointless. Glance, he subtly looks to the side. The view focuses on Jaemin, sitting quietly and observing. Turn, stare, Seungpyo turns to Jaemin, certain he was just being watched. Boom, a student begins to sing opera very poorly. Squeak, boom, as the terrible singing continues, Jaemin snickers while Seungpyo cringes. Wahaha! Another student's awful singing makes Seungpyo burst into laughter. Clap, clap, the class applauds the terrible performance as Seungpyo jokingly thanks them. Glancing his classmates chatter, Seungpyo overhears someone remark that there's something even he can't do. He looks over at Jaemin, who isn't laughing with the others. Freak, annoyed, Seungpyo sinks into his chair, deciding to just ignore him. Clap, clap, the teacher sarcastically compliments the last singer and asks for another volunteer. Chatter. Students begin shouting out nominations for the next singer. Jolt, Jaemin is suddenly nominated, and another student suggests Seungpyo should decide. Seungpyo looks hesitant and uncertain about what to do. He glances over at Jaemin, considering the suggestion. A close-up shows Jaemin's calm, steady eyes. Creak, Jaemin silently stands up, accepting the challenge. Seungpyo asks what he'll sing, and Jaemin chooses a somber song, making Seungpyo think it suits his personality. Boom, boom, as Jaemin begins to sing, his beautiful voice shocks a bewildered Seungpyo. Boom, boom, Jaemin continues his flawless and powerful opera performance. Whoa! The entire class erupts in applause, completely amazed by his hidden talent. The teacher praises Jaemin's wonderful performance before starting the lesson. The scene shifts to the hallway as the teacher dismisses the class. The teacher asks Seungpyo and Jaemin to help her with something before they leave. Tap, turn after finishing the task, Seungpyo tells Jaemin they can go. Seungpyo stops Jaemin to compliment his singing, and they exchange tense words about talent and preference. Turn, Seungpyo confronts Jaemin, asking how long he plans to act this way. Seungpyo pressures him about being upset, but Jaemin coolly denies it. Seungpyo recalls Jaemin's past anger, and Jaemin dares him to just hit him already. Grit, whoosh, Seungpyo seethes, wondering if violence would really solve anything for Jaemin. Pause. Jaemin raises his fist to strike Seungpyo, but stops himself. FWIP. He turns away, thinking this will end just like the karaoke incident. Jaemin taunts him for not hitting him, asking if he remembered their kiss before dismissing it as nothing. Seungpyo smirks, taunting Jaemin about whether their encounter even counted as a kiss. As Seungpyo steps forward, Jaemin tells him to stop bringing it up, but Seungpyo insists that the past can't be changed. Tap, Seungpyo touches Jaemin's chin, suggesting it wouldn't be a big deal if they continued. Thwack, Jaemin violently slaps his hand away, yelling at him to get away. Rub, rub, Jaemin furiously wipes at his lips, calling Seungpyo a piece of shit. Drip, a single drop of blood falls from Jaemin's now bleeding lip as he glares in silence. Swat, Jaemin shoves his hand away, accusing Seungpyo of being a psycho who kisses random people. Gra, Seungpyo angrily demands to know when he ever did that. He realizes Jaemin must have overheard his conversation with Soo-hyun and insists they only sang together. Pout, Jaemin scoffs at the idea he's jealous, retorting that he's actually angry about being blackmailed and assaulted again. Scratch, Seungpyo nervously backs down, promising to never talk about it again. Jaemin looks away, wondering how he could possibly trust someone like him. A close-up reveals Seungpyo's determined, calculating gaze. Jaemin looks away, his expression filled with troubled hesitation. Jaemin turns his back, coldly telling him to find a girlfriend for that kind of thing. Scratch. Seungpyo makes excuses, explaining that dating is a pain since they're seniors at an all-boys school. Frown, Jaemin angrily cuts him off, telling him to shut up before he says something stupid. Seungpyo presses on, suggesting that Jaemin must have uploaded those videos to blow off steam. Gra, he continues psychoanalyzing Jaemin's coping mechanisms, causing Jaemin to yell at him to shut up. Seungpyo proposes a convenient arrangement between them, but Jaemin worries about being exposed. As a solution, Seungpyo suggests they take compromising photos of each other to ensure mutual silence, an idea Jaemin finds disgusting. Seungpyo admits he looked up his feelings online and was told it's a normal part of being a high schooler. Glance, he internally reasons that his offer is a good deal and wonders why Jaemin is so resistant. He suddenly asks if he was Jaemin's first kiss, then quickly dismisses the thought. Flinch, Jaemin furiously denies it, lying that it wasn't his first time either, before mentally cursing himself. Seungpyo scoffs at Jaemin's supposed experience, but Jaemin tells him to stop talking about it. Stare, after being called out for bringing it up, Jaemin flinches and apologizes, agreeing to drop it. Seungpyo urges Jaemin to be honest and tell him what he really wants from him. With his lips still bleeding, Jaemin struggles for words, unable to answer. Clack. The classroom door suddenly slides open, interrupting them. The teacher with light green hair appears, telling them to hurry up before class starts. Turn, the teacher invites them to the resource room at lunch before walking away. Jaemin mutters under his breath, sarcastically wishing the teacher a good time waiting alone. Ring, RRING. The bell rings as the scene shifts to an overview of the school grounds. Standing outside with other students, Jaemin's thoughts drift to Seungpyo. Tap, looking at his phone, he wonders if Seungpyo is actually stupid. He decides he definitely won't go to the meeting, thinking Seungpyo can just drown in his own embarrassment. Step, Seungpyo returns to the classroom, brushing off a friend, while wondering why Jaemin seemed so confident he would show up. Snicker, Jaemin smiles at his phone, amused that someone as stupid as Seungpyo could be ranked second in school. Screech, a black car pulls up beside Jaemin, who notes its arrival. Clack, a new, unfamiliar driver, asks if he's Jaemin, leaving him to wonder what happened to his regular driver. The driver explains he's the replacement as Jaemin gets in, realizing his parents hadn't told him. Vroom, as the car drives off, the man explains he was hired suddenly, leaving no time to give notice. Jaemin reflects on how his parents often change things without telling him, hoping his previous driver wasn't fired over his tardiness. Sigh, he sighs in frustration, tired of having decisions made for him. The scene shifts to a view of towering city skyscrapers against the night sky. Clack, Jaemin enters his apartment, announcing he's home before stopping in confusion. His eyes fall on a pair of expensive men's shoes he doesn't recognize. Entering the living room, he's surprised to find two women he's never seen before sitting on the couch. Smile, a woman with long brown hair waves, welcoming Jaemin home. Plop, Jaemin is surprised to see his sister, who explains she stopped by to see their mom and is just leaving. He asks his sister to stay a little longer, but she seems hesitant. Tisk, Spring, his mother interrupts, telling his sister Somin to leave and ordering Jaemin to go study. Step as they walk out, Somin offers to treat him to a meal and they discuss her taking a taxi home. Wave, Jaemin offers to see her off, but she whispers for him to stay, warning him that their mom is in a bad mood. Clack, Jaemin stands alone in the entryway after his sister leaves. Step, as he heads for the shower, his mother stops him, questioning his poor manners and lack of concern for his sister. Frowning, his mother reveals that Seungmin quit her job, deliberately choosing a day their father was away. Pause. Shocked, Jaemin asks what happened, and his mother complains that Seungmin now wants to go abroad. His mother scoffs that Seungmin is only going on a working holiday, calling it a waste of time and a disgrace to the family. Gazing at a family photo, she warns Jaemin not to be like Seungmin, who she claims is overreacting to their father's words. Frowning, she cuts the conversation short, ordering him to go study, and he reluctantly agrees. Scritch, studying. At his desk, Jaemin reflects on his sister's desire for independence and his mother's lack of understanding. Slump, he rests his head on his desk, overwhelmed, wondering if his sister is escaping, and if he'll have to do the same. He closes his eyes, lost in troubled thought. Lying in bed, Jaemin blames Seungpyo for taking away his online outlet for frustration. Twitch. A memory surfaces of Seungpyo's taunt about him uploading revealing photos online. The memory continues with Seungpyo asking him to act like a stripper. Press. In a different memory, Seungpyo touches his own chest, wondering why he can't stop thinking about him. Their faces draw intimately close in a hazy memory. Slurp. Press. The memory culminates in a kiss. Lying in bed, a flustered Seungpyo recalls the moment. Grip, he clutches his clothes in turmoil. Glance, Seungpyo's eyes narrow with desire as he admits he wants to keep kissing him. A close-up shows Jaemin's troubled expression. Jaemin lies silently in his bed, facing away. Bustle. The scene shifts to the bustling school grounds the next morning. Step. Jaemin walks through the school hall, looking dazed and distracted. Step. He continues into his classroom. A classmate greets him, noting he's late, and Jaemin vaguely says something came up. FWIP. Sitting down, he distractedly asks about their first class and any homework. Pause. He hesitates over his notebook, his thoughts drifting to Seungpyo. Chatter. Nearby classmates discuss their math homework. Seungpyo quietly agrees to let his friends copy his homework later. Chatter. A friend asks Seungpyo to play basketball, questioning where he was yesterday. Glance. Seungpyo evasively says he was napping alone. Seungpyo turns and looks toward Jaemin. His intense, thoughtful gaze remains fixed on him. Chatter. The classroom is filled with the low murmur of students before class. In the cafeteria, a classmate invites Jaemin to the student store after lunch. Rattle. Step. Jaemin declines the offer, stating he has to be somewhere else and leaves the table. Step. Jaemin walks purposefully down an empty hallway. Step. Seungpyo's invitation to the resource room echoes in his mind. Frown. He questions his own decision to come. Pause. He stops, hesitating outside the teacher's resource room. Clack. Creak. He pushes the door open. Silence. The room is empty. Smirk. Seungpyo appears from the side, thinking to himself that it was obvious Jaemin would show up. Creak. Deciding to take advantage of the quiet room, Seungpyo plans to get some rest. Seungpyo stands inside the resource room, facing Jaemin. Blink. Jaemin stares back, momentarily speechless. Seungpyo asks if he got the date wrong, reminding him he was supposed to come yesterday. Rattle. Creak. Jaemin pulls out a chair, claiming he's not there for Seungpyo, but just to get some rest away from the noisy classroom, though Seungpyo questions his excuse. Outside the window, classmates chatter while playing basketball. Jaemin wonders why Seungpyo isn't playing basketball and asks if he should be with his friends. Seungpyo explains that his plans with Jaemin came first, surprising him with the mysterious appearance of a chair. Sitting down, Jaemin wonders how Seungpyo would react if he knew what he did while thinking of him last night. Chuckle, Seungpyo smirks, teasingly asking why Jaemin is staring and if he actually mixed up the dates. FWIP, flinch. Jaemin dismisses the idea, annoyed by Seungpyo's smile. Seungpyo then asks what Jaemin was about to say yesterday before the teacher interrupted. Jaemin lies, claiming he was going to say he's sick of arguing and wants to be left alone. He internally reaffirms that this is what he wanted to tell him. Whoosh! Seungpyo suddenly leans in close, asking if they can do it now. Jaemin remains silent as Seungpyo presses, asking if that's why he came. Lean. Seungpyo moves even closer, their faces just inches apart. Murmur. He asks why Jaemin isn't closing his eyes, and Jaemin hesitantly asks if he has to. Lean. Considering the question, Seungpyo closes the remaining distance. Kiss. Seungpyo kisses a seated Jaemin, holding his face gently. Stare. Their lips meet as they gaze at each other. Grasping, Jaemin clutches at his own shirt, wondering why Seungpyo is so still and not kissing him properly like last time. Lick. Seungpyo's tongue darts out, startling Jaemin. Suck! He deepens the kiss, causing Jaemin to gasp. Kiss. Press. Seungpyo presses Jaemin's head forward, intensifying their embrace. Ha! Smooch. Lick. The kiss grows more passionate and heated. Smooch. Quiver. Their lips part as they both breathe heavily. Smirk. Seungpyo pulls back slightly, asking why Jaemin is so calm today. Kiss. He cuts off Jaemin's reply with another kiss, biting his lower lip. Kiss. Slurp. The sounds of their passionate kiss fill the empty resource room. They finally break apart, both breathing heavily. A close-up shows Seungpyo's intense gaze on a flushed Jaemin. Ha! Jaemin pants, flustered and breathless. Slide, flinch, grip. Seungpyo's hand slips down Jaemin's back, causing him to protest that the area is off-limits. Grip, ack. Jaemin furiously grabs Seungpyo's hair, calling him a crazy bastard. Throb. Seungpyo complains about the sudden rejection, but Jaemin clarifies their deal is only for kissing at school, which Seungpyo cheekily asks if it means they can do more elsewhere. Jolt. Jaemin is shocked speechless by the suggestion. Smirk. Seungpyo teasingly calls his name, Hey Jaemin. Chills. Jaemin flatly rejects the unspoken offer with a firm no. Seungpyo demands to know why, but Jaemin sighs, asking why he would go there. Glare. Jaemin admits that he doesn't trust him yet. Seungpyo sighs, asking when Jaemin will finally start trusting him, but Jaemin says he doesn't know. Whap! Jaemin pushes Seungpyo's hand away, confirming they will stick to just kissing for now before telling him to move. Jaemin sits down, demanding Seungpyo send him the thing, clarifying it's the compromising photo he promised. Seungpyo seems surprised he actually wants it, but Jaemin insists he said he would. Seungpyo tries to bargain, asking if sending it means they can do more than kiss, but Jaemin denies it, offering to take a new photo when they do. Turn. Jaemin looks away, realizing Seungpyo must have planned this far in advance. Stare. Seungpyo changes the subject, asking if he knew the principal's wig flipped up. He laughs, recounting how a gust of wind exposed the principal's bald head during their basketball game. Jaemin is confused by the random story about the principal. Press. Seungpyo explains they both needed to think about something else for a moment. A flustered Jaemin looks down, letting out a small gasp. Turn. Seungpyo smiles at Jaemin, announcing that he's heading out. Step. Jaemin quickly gets up from his chair, saying he's leaving too. Step. Step. The two boys walk out of the resource room together. A view from outside the window shows Jaemin sitting alone at his classroom desk. Glance. Glance. Looking around nervously, Jaemin takes out his phone. Tap, tap, tap. His fingers move quickly across the screen. Tap, tap. He searches online for how to get good at kissing. Ahem. Flip. Feeling embarrassed, he quickly hides his phone inside his textbook. He worries that he should have been better prepared, thinking Seungpyo will find it weird that he keeps getting caught off guard. He nervously licks his lips while lost in thought. Blushing, he wonders if Seungpyo is a good kisser, concluding that the jerk must have a lot of experience. Press. He flashes back to the feeling of Seungpyo's hand pressing against his neck. Rub. Unable to stop thinking about it, he rubs the back of his neck. FWIP. FWIP. He scrolls to another tip about using one's tongue, thinking all the advice is the same. Click. Dismissing it as not a big deal, he locks his phone. The scene fades, transitioning through abstract, grainy panels. Press. In a dream, Seungpyo gently cups Jaemin's chin. Seungpyo's thumb tenderly caresses his lower lip. Grab, yank. Taking control, Jaemin grabs Seungpyo's tie and pulls him in. Pop. Pop. Startled by the sudden move, Seungpyo places his hands on Jaemin's chest. Pop. Seungpyo orders Jaemin to put his hands behind his back, insisting when Jaemin questions him. FWIP. Jaemin complies, clasping his hands behind his back. Lean. Seungpyo presses his body against Jaemin's, who lets out a nervous breath. Lick, chomp, ack. Seungpyo licks and then bites Jaemin's neck, causing him to cry out. Flush. Seungpyo smirks, asking if he likes it when it hurts, but a flustered Jaemin denies it. Seungpyo proposes a bet, starting to lay out the stakes if he wins, leaving Jaemin confused. Whisper, whisper. He leans in and whispers the terms of the bet into Jaemin's ear. Blush. Jaemin is left completely stunned and blushing by the secret proposal. Slide. Seungpyo clarifies that Jaemin will lose if he moves his arms from behind his back or gives up. Press. His hand moves down and presses against Jaemin's crotch, making him gasp. Jolt. The dream is suddenly shattered by a voice yelling Seungpyo's name. A friend finds Seungpyo whimpering on the couch, asking if he's sick. He wakes up, explaining he must have dozed off. Dazed, he agrees to his friend's suggestion to sleep in his room and lies down on his bed. FWIP, lying on his side, he examines his hand, wondering why it looks strange to him. He wonders if the strange feeling is because of the dream he just had. Spring, he jolts upright in bed, his face flushed with sudden realization. Looking down at his lap, he thinks to himself that something feels icky. Tug, now sitting on the couch, he silently tugs at his pants with a conflicted expression. The scene shifts to him standing under a hot shower. He reasons that it's normal to have a dream like that after kissing someone. Swish. As he washes his hair, he complains the dream was too raunchy and wonders if Jaemin's perverted ways are rubbing off on him. Clench, he recalls the intimate details of the dream, admitting to himself that it wasn't that bad. Smile. A small, satisfied smile touches his lips in the shower. At school, a friend complains to Seungpyo that they lost a game because of him. Bicker, his friends argue loudly amongst themselves, blaming each other for the loss. Glance, Seungpyo suggests a one-on-one match to settle it, with the winner getting to be worshipped. As his friends agree to the bet, Seungpyo inwardly complains that he wants to see Jaemin, but their seats are too far apart. Looking at his phone, he realizes he can't even message Jaemin because he doesn't have his number. He tells his friends he's going to the bathroom, ignoring one who jokingly asks if he needs to poop. Tap, tap, a finger drums impatiently on the wooden desk. Jaemin looks down with a contemplative, somber expression. Tilt, Seungpyo leans over Jaemin's desk, invading his personal space. Step, Seungpyo walks toward the classroom door as Jaemin watches silently. Creak, as Jaemin gets up to follow. Seungpyo glances back with a knowing smirk. Clack, Seungpyo opens the door to the hallway. In the resource room, Seungpyo confronts Jaemin, asking if his innocent act is supposed to fool him. Seungpyo suggests they kiss now instead of waiting for lunch, but Jaemin sighs, questioning the morning timing. Jaemin inwardly agrees, realizing that disappearing together at lunch would look suspicious, especially with Seungpyo's popularity. Grasping, Seungpyo takes Jaemin's chin, urging him to hurry so they won't be late for class. Their lips meet in a tender, close-up kiss. Clunk, their kiss is interrupted by a sound in the resource room. Rattle. Wham. Someone tries the locked door, and a panicked Jaemin shoves Seungpyo away, making him cry out. Crash. Seungpyo complains about the overreaction since he locked the door, while Jaemin apologizes for being startled. Outside, a voice asks why the door is locked. A teacher appears at the door, questioning their presence. Seungpyo casually greets him as Jaemin looks on nervously. Jaemin smoothly explains they just needed a quiet place to talk, apologizing for using the room without permission. The teacher questions why they locked the door and tells them to head to class, while Seungpyo asks Jaemin to help him with some papers. Step. The two boys walk out of the resource room together down the hall. Thump, thump. Jaemin's heart pounds in his chest as he decides they shouldn't use the resource room anymore. Seungpyo sighs dramatically, complaining about how hard it is to find a private place to make out. Glaring, Jaemin asks why he was called out so early. Seungpyo cheekily claims a morning session will help him focus in class. A blushing Jaemin mutters to himself, "Focus, my ass." Pause. Seungpyo stops at the classroom door and calls Jaemin's name. Glancing back, he promises to see Jaemin during their break. A friend teases Seungpyo for taking so long in the bathroom, and he tells him to screw off as Jaemin watches with a blush. Seungpyo's face darkens as he internally curses the situation. A teacher asks Jaemin to come to the faculty room during his break, and he agrees. Classmates crowd Jaemin's desk, asking for help with a question, leaving him flustered but compliant. Slump. At the gym, Seungpyo collapses in frustration, realizing Jaemin has no free time during 5th period. Fweet! Another player blows a whistle, ordering Seungpyo to stop slacking and get back to practice. Whisper. Students in the gym discuss their basketball team, suggesting Seungpyo and Jaemin should definitely play. A teammate praises Jaemin's basketball skills, crediting him and Seungpyo for their class's advantage, though Jaemin seems hesitant. When a teammate suggests the two tall boys play center, Seungpyo internally bristles at the thought of Jaemin having physical contact with other guys. Seungpyo declares he'll play point guard, insisting it would be a waste to put Jaemin under the basket. The other players are confused by his decision, pointing out that Seungpyo's height is unusual for a point guard. Seungpyo lays out his plan. He will pass the ball to Jaemin, who will focus on finding open spaces and shooting. Staring intently, Seungpyo thinks the strategy could work and suggests a bet to make the game more fun. Jaemin voices his concern about being out of practice, but Seungpyo reassures him that he'll be fine once he starts playing. A teammate calls out that practice is over and it's time for the match to begin. Wait, as the game starts, two opponents express confusion over their team's unexpected formation with Jaemin not at center. Tap, a player makes a sharp pivot on the court as someone shouts, "Block him!" Toss, Seungpyo takes a shot, confidently taunting the other team for making it easy for him. Grab, Jaemin catches the basketball with a look of fierce concentration. Whoosh! He launches the ball toward the hoop. Clunk! The ball sinks through the net as a teammate thinks how well Seungpyo draws the defense. Dash, slap. A teammate enthusiastically high-fives Jaemin, calling him a genius for playing so well without practice. Tap, smiling, Jaemin returns the high five, humbly chalking it up to luck. FWIP, Seungpyo silently gestures to Jaemin, asking for a high five. Jaemin gives a blank stare before a chibi version of him nervously asks, "Seriously?" Seungpyo presses him, asking why he won't do it, causing a blushing Jaemin to turn away silently. Blushing, Jaemin tells someone to keep doing as he says, complimenting their performance. Tap, Jaemin gently touches Seungpyo's shoulder from behind. Dash, Seungpyo sprints away with a confident smile. Jaemin looks down at Seungpyo, blushing and momentarily speechless. Glancing, holding a basketball, Seungpyo eyes the opposing players on the court. Dash, a rival player, wonders how Seungpyo managed to get so far into their territory. A surprised player gasps as Jaemin suddenly appears and intercepts a toss ball. Whoosh! Jaemin jumps for a shot as Seungpyo leaps to block him. Fweet! The whistle blows as the scoreboard shows a lopsided score of 29-15. A teammate scolds Jaemin for focusing only on Seungpyo while they're losing, but Jaemin insists he can't let him score. Seungpyo's teammate warns him that Jaemin is the real problem, always being in the perfect position for a pass. His other teammates complain to Seungpyo, asking why he is only passing to Jaemin when they are also open for a shot. Ugh. Seungpyo turns to his frustrated teammates and tells them it's their fault too. He explains that Jaemin is always in the best position, but his teammates still argue he could have passed to them at least once. A classmate sarcastically asks if Seungpyo is playing favorites with the top student, and Jaemin just smiles smugly. Seungpyo looks taken aback, realizing Jaemin enjoys being complimented like anyone else. A teammate points out that the opposing team is weak, especially on Jaemin's side of the court. Tap, Jaemin dribbles the ball as his opponents realize he's scoring all the points and that his team is setting up another pass. Holding the ball, Seungpyo watches Jaemin move into an open spot, contemplating a risky pass. A close-up of Seungpyo's determined eye reveals he's made a decision. Jaemin leaps and catches the ball perfectly, exclaiming his approval. Watching from the sidelines, students are impressed by Jaemin's feint, wondering if he was ever truly a beginner. Clap, Seungpyo gives Jaemin a high five for the great pass, thinking to himself that this is incredibly fun. Laughing, Seungpyo puts his arm around Jaemin, thinking about how serious his rival is. The final scoreboard shows a decisive victory, 72-34, as someone calls the game. The winning team celebrates their skill and how much fun the game was. Losing team looks dejected as a teammate tries to console them, saying the other team was full of pros. Fweet! The coach blows his whistle, announcing that the winning class has to clean up the equipment. The team boos in protest, but the coach explains it's fair since they won. As the players begin cleaning up, one asks for a ball to be tossed to him while another sighs. A teammate laments Seungpyo's wasted basketball talent, but Seungpyo dismisses sports as just a hobby. Seungpyo volunteers to take the ball carts to storage, and a friend suggests someone should go help him. FWIP, Seungpyo gives a thumbs up and asks Jaemin if he wants to come along. Surprised, Jaemin agrees to go with him. Their teammates wave them off, saying the dominant winners should be the ones to clean up. As the rest of the team leaves, they happily make plans to go to the student store. Rattle, Seungpyo pushes a cart into a room and tells Jaemin to hurry, who follows silently behind. Inside the storage room, Jaemin asks if they can just leave the equipment there. Whoosh! Seungpyo suddenly turns and pulls a surprised Jaemin into an embrace. Kiss! He gently kisses Jaemin's cheek, holding his face in his hand. Jaemin asks what he's doing, and a flustered Seungpyo claims he was in a rush and kissed the wrong spot by accident. Seungpyo compliments Jaemin's basketball skills, to which Jaemin confidently replies, "I know." Whap! Jaemin angrily slaps his hand away, declaring that his skill is his own and refusing to thank Seungpyo for it. They bicker, with Seungpyo claiming credit for the passes and Jaemin retorting that Seungpyo himself admitted it was because he was always in a good position. Sighing, Seungpyo calls him unbelievable while gripping his shoulder. Swoosh. The two begin to tussle with each other in the storage room. Nibble, Seungpyo decides to shut him up, leaning in and gently biting Jaemin's lip. Kiss, he follows up with a deep kiss, causing Jaemin's hand to twitch in surprise. Reach, he deepens the smooch, his hand moving to gently cradle the back of Jaemin's neck. Kiss, smooch. As they kiss, Seungpyo thinks about how stiff and inexperienced Jaemin seems. Twitch, as their kiss deepens, Seungpyo smirks, thinking this works out for him. Slurp. Ha! Overwhelmed by the passionate kiss, a blushing Jaemin wonders how long it will last. Reach. Seungpyo's hand moves up to cup the back of Jaemin's neck. Press, he pins Jaemin against the wall by his wrists, continuing their intense kiss. They continue kissing while pressed against the storage room door. Hwa. Gasping for air, Jaemin breaks the kiss and tells him to let go. Chomp. Seungpyo playfully bites Jaemin's finger, making him yelp. Rub, nuzzling his neck. Seungpyo feigns ignorance, as Jaemin reminds him of his promise not to do this at school. FWIP. Seungpyo lets go, lamenting that their break is almost over. Ha! Sliding down the wall, Jaemin catches his breath, complaining that the kiss went on too long. Reach. Seungpyo grabs his wrist, telling him it's time to go back to class. Stopping him, Seungpyo calls out Jaemin's name, but Jaemin insists they're out of time. Sigh. Seungpyo asks when they can do more than just kiss, and Jaemin admits he doesn't know. With a sly grin, Seungpyo proposes they make a bet. Jaemin asks what kind of bet, and Seungpyo complains he's tired of waiting for him to be ready. When Jaemin asks what he wants, Seungpyo smirks and mentions the upcoming midterms. Seungpyo lays out the terms. If he beats Jaemin in the exams, he gets to go further. In the empty gym, Seungpyo's voice echoes, asking why Jaemin isn't answering. He taunts Jaemin with a smile, asking if he's not feeling confident. Smirk, Jaemin scoffs, saying he was just surprised Seungpyo didn't know his own place. Grr. Seungpyo seethes with anger, surrounded by a dark aura. In a flashback, a student with glasses makes a bet on a basketball game, while Jaemin thinks his odds are better in academics. Jaemin recalls that because basketball was a team game, there was at least a slim chance of winning. Grr, back in the present, Seungpyo glares as Jaemin argues their grades aren't that different. Smirk, Jaemin smugly reminds him that he never beat him once last year. Seungpyo thinks about how much he wants to shut Jaemin's mouth, admitting he would have punched him in the past. Now genuinely intrigued, Seungpyo says he really wants to make the bet. Jaemin asks what happens if he wins, and Seungpyo lets him set the terms. Stating he isn't ready for more than kissing, Jaemin tells him to bet something else. Seungpyo makes his demand. Send me a video. Okay, I will read the text back to you. Jaemin is shocked by the request, as Seungpyo refuses to change the terms, making Jaemin realize he wants much more than just a voice recording. Stare. As Seungpyo looks on impassively, Jaemin thinks he's trying to make him give up the bet. Smirk. Wondering if Seungpyo is bluffing, Jaemin decides to accept the challenge. VRRR. Suddenly, Seungpyo's phone starts vibrating insistently. VR texts flood in from a friend, warning him that the teacher is coming and asking if he's locked in the storage room. Grab, step. As Jaemin tries to leave, Seungpyo grabs his wrist, telling him to back out if he's not confident. Step. Jaemin clarifies, it's not about confidence, but a lack of time. FWIP. Seungpyo asks for his number to continue the conversation, but Jaemin refuses to discuss it over the phone. Turn. Calling him nitpicky, Seungpyo leaves first, telling Jaemin to follow or not. The scene transitions to an apartment building at night. Plop. Later at home, Seungpyo sits on his bed, frustrated that their conversation was cut short. Flump. He falls back onto his bed, sighing that he should have insisted on getting Jaemin's number. Glancing, deciding to make lunch plans, he picks up his phone. FWIP. He scrolls aimlessly, finding nothing of interest. Ding, a notification appears. A new unknown account has started following him. FWIP. He checks the private profile, betting12, and suspects it's an illegal gambling bot. Mulling over the name, he connects betting 1 and 2 to their bet. Spring. Ding. He jolts upright as a follow request appears, a look of sudden realization on his face. Tap. Tap. Through the betting12 account, Seungpyo asks why they're using this instead of texting. At home, Jaemin thinks Seungpyo is shady but also experienced with perverts, so he likely knows more than him. Jolt, blushing, he realizes he lost his first kiss to a pervert but can't back down from this opportunity. VRR, his phone buzzes with Seungpyo's explicit messages, wanting to kiss him elsewhere and do this and that. Hiding under his blanket, Jaemin reads the messages and murmurs that Seungpyo is a crazy bastard. Gasp! He clutches his phone in shock under the covers. VRR. More messages arrive from Seungpyo, who specifies he wants to see him do it from the back. Jaemin stares at his phone in disbelief, wondering if he's being serious. He rationalizes that many others have made similar requests to Seungpyo, so it might not be that unreasonable. Holding his own phone, Seungpyo ponders why he wants to see it, admitting he hasn't given it much thought. Ding! He decides it would be boring to ask for something Jaemin's already done, just as a message comes in. Heh. Reading the new message, Seungpyo smirks in amusement. Ding! Jaemin's message explains that the gap between their levels makes the request fair. Tap, tap, Seungpyo reads Jaemin's compromise. They can agree on no face in the video. Smirk, he types a simple response. Nice. Drag, pushing his chair back, Seungpyo gets focused, vowing to win the midterm bet and knock Jaemin off his high horse. At school, Seungpyo tells his friends to stop gathering around his desk to chat. His friends question his sudden focus on studying, reminding him that midterms are far off and he always crams last minute. Seungpyo smirks, claiming he's outgrown cramming, and asks them to stop seeing him as a kid. A friend asks if he's skipping their game tonight, and Seungpyo confirms he won't play until exams are over. Whisper, whisper, his friends gossip about how fired up he gets for exams, but note he's starting exceptionally early this time. One of the friends says he thinks he understands why, glancing toward Jaemin, who is already studying intently. They muse that while Seungpyo's 2-year quest to beat the top student is intense, his openness about it makes him seem more human. Nod, nod, his friends suddenly praise him, calling him a good guy, leaving Seungpyo confused. Step, they wish him good luck and walk away, leaving a baffled Seungpyo to his studies. A classmate with blonde hair waves to Seungpyo, suggesting they go to the snack bar since lunch sucks. Grasp, Jaemin intervenes, telling the student not to bother Seungpyo while he is studying, which shocks the student. Chatter, students whisper about how both Seungpyo and Jaemin have become super intense lately, even though they usually cram. A student sighs that he can't keep up with the top two, commenting that there's no stopping a genius who actually tries. Step, deciding to leave him be, the students go to the snack bar as Seungpyo focuses on his work. The scene shifts to a view of city apartments at night. Scribble, scribble, Seungpyo studies diligently at his desk by the window. Knock, knock. A knock at the door interrupts him. Swing, his brother enters, asking if he wants to order pizza. Wave, Seungpyo dismisses him without looking up, saying he's studying and doesn't want any. Gra, his annoyed brother, calls him a punk for getting worked up, and Seungpyo yells back to shut up. Slam, alone again. Seungpyo sighs that Jaemin's house must be quiet, leaving him at a disadvantage. He smirks to himself, thinking the difficult environment will only make his victory sweeter. Elsewhere, Jaemin studies, thinking he just wants to see Seungpyo squirm and apologize for his absurd request. Press, he focuses on his notes, determined to win the bet. Peek, his brother peeks in again to ask about pizza, and an angry Seungpyo yells that he doesn't want any. Yawn, back at school, students complain about changing classrooms as they walk down the stairs. Step, Seungpyo approaches a focused Jaemin, asking when and where they'll do it today. Stare, Jaemin gives him a cold look, flatly stating he doesn't have time. He shows Seungpyo his packed schedule, explaining he has no time to mess around until exams are over. Chuckle, Jaemin smirks, asking if he looks like someone who will help relieve his stress and calling him a pervert. Grr, Seungpyo shoots back that Jaemin is the pervert and reminds him whose idea this all was. Seungpyo fumes, regretting not including making out in their bet and suspecting Jaemin is avoiding him on purpose. Chills, he warns Jaemin not to make another weird account, causing Jaemin to snap, asking when he'll stop mocking him. FWIP, step, as Jaemin turns and walks away. A flustered Seungpyo calls out that he didn't mean it like that. Scratch. Ugh, a frustrated Seungpyo runs a hand through his hair. The scene shifts to the school as a month passes by. Step. Inside the classroom, their teacher announces a study hall for the next day's exams and dismisses the class, having not seen Seungpyo or Jaemin meet up. Seungpyo approaches a studying Jaemin, asking why he's taking this so far and if he's really okay without any physical contact. Chuckle. Jaemin smirks, admitting that watching Seungpyo lose his mind is a great stress reliever. Frowning, Seungpyo thinks Jaemin is a pervert as Jaemin coldly tells him to leave, calling him a distraction. Seungpyo smirks at his desk, realizing Jaemin's taunts have only fueled his desire to study harder. Though sometimes, he admits, he couldn't hold back and had to let loose while looking at his phone. A classmate interrupts Seungpyo's studying to ask for some pencil lead. Gasp! The classmate recoils in shock, yelling that Seungpyo's nose is bleeding. Drip. As blood runs from his nose, his friend frantically calls for tissues. Wipe, pressing his hand to his nose. Seungpyo realizes it's the first time he's ever gotten a nosebleed from studying. FWIP, a friend hands him tissues, asking if he's overdoing it, and Seungpyo thanks him. Glancing, he presses the tissue to his nose, his eyes shifting to the side. He looks over at Jaemin, who appears concerned. Seungpyo casually tells his friend it's just from pent-up heat. The friend notes he hasn't been playing basketball lately, and suggests a game after exams, as Jaemin quietly leaves in the background. Scritch. During the exam, the teacher warns students against cheating. Scribble. Both Jaemin and Seungpyo focus intently on their test papers. Scribble. Seungpyo continues to write, completely absorbed in the exam. The scene transitions to an academic building at night. Stretch. After the exams, Seungpyo stretches in an empty classroom, complaining about his exhaustion. His friends ask about his score, and his vague answer that it was the same as usual raises their suspicion. Spring. He suddenly stands up, telling a surprised Jaemin he's going to the bathroom. Step. As he leaves, his friends gossip that he must have bombed the test while assuming Jaemin did well. Droop. In the hallway, Seungpyo's shoulders slump in defeat. Snicker, but then a sly smile spreads across his face as he realizes he only missed one question and has a real chance to win. Entering a classroom, he overhears a girl asking Jaemin about his scores, wondering what he got. Jaemin smugly replies that he thinks he only got one wrong. Twitch. Seungpyo's eye twitches as the horrifying possibility of a tie dawns on him. A girl calls out to Seungpyo, asking if he did well, but he walks past, lost in thought. Flinch. Seungpyo announces he also missed one, making Jaemin visibly startle as the girl celebrates their high scores. The girl praises them both for working so hard, and Jaemin quietly thanks her. An awkward silence falls between the two rivals. Seungpyo breaks the tension, asking which question Jaemin got wrong. They trade subjects, and Seungpyo presses to know the point value of Jaemin's incorrect answer first. Jaemin reveals his missed question was worth 3 points. He stares in disbelief at Seungpyo's reaction. Grip. Jaemin's hand clenches into a tight fist. They stand facing each other in the now silent hallway. Smirk. Seungpyo wonders at Jaemin's tense reaction, thinking he might have actually won. Jaemin quietly admits his question was worth the same amount. Seungpyo thinks to himself that of course it would end this way. Jaemin anxiously asks what happens in a tie, and Seungpyo dismisses it, saying they'll both just not do the bet. Shrug. He casually remarks that bets are supposed to be for fun anyway. He notes that at least their grades improved, and Jaemin will likely be ranked first again. Smirk. He adds the final twist. It will be a joint first place. Twitch. Jaemin clenches his arm, visibly annoyed by the outcome. Jaemin suggests they wait for the official scores and talk again tomorrow. Step. Announcing he's leaving, Jaemin turns and walks away. Creak. A student with dark hair and a backpack opens a door. Clack. Jaemin leans against the wall, looking tired after his exams. Step. A woman in a green apron greets him, noting he must be tired from his last day of exams. Jaemin dismisses her concern, saying it's nothing new, and declines her offer of a snack, mentioning the professors won't be back until dinner. He politely thanks the woman as she offers to make him something if he gets hungry. Shaw. Later, as rain falls outside, Jaemin sits on his bed in his pajamas, reviewing a paper. He stares at his English test, noticing a question has been marked incorrect. A red line marks an answer wrong on his English test paper. Slump, sighing in disbelief, Jaemin puts his head in his hands, lamenting that he lost to Seungpyo. He berates himself for second-guessing a multiple-choice question on a simple school test. Crumple. He crushes the test paper in his hand, frustrated that it all came down to one question. Smirking unhappily, he recalls their promise to make the video clearly visible and thinks losing to Seungpyo is even worse. Creak. He lies back on his bed, letting out an exasperated sigh. Press. Clenching his fists, he mutters to himself about how annoying the situation is. Shaw, rain continues to stream down the window pane. Spring, he suddenly sits up, realizing the final scores aren't out yet, and that Seungpyo could have made a different mistake. As rain pours, he resolves to get a grip and look at the question one more time. Chatter, outside classroom 2 to 3, a student asks another if they've heard the news. Inside, one student tells another that Seungpyo only got one question wrong on the entire exam, which was confirmed at his academy. Bustle, Seungpyo's friends crowd around his desk, excitedly asking if he's taking first place, and if Jaemin really missed the same question. Scratch, Seungpyo smirks nonchalantly, claiming he doesn't know which question Jaemin got wrong, and that it was on a different subject. As his friends congratulate him and plan a trip to the PC cafe, Jaemin stands by the door, overhearing everything. Step, walking down the hall, Jaemin sighs, realizing everyone is already gossiping, and worries they'll mock him if they find out he lost by 0.2 points. A teacher greets Jaemin, congratulating him on working hard during the exams. Jaemin watches the teacher walk away, a thoughtful expression on his face. Rush, he suddenly calls out, running to catch up with the teacher. Jolt, Jaemin tells his teacher he thinks there might be something wrong with question 10 on the midterm, startling the man as Jaemin resolves to do anything to get out of the bet. The teacher asks what's wrong with it and suggests they go to the teacher's office to take a look. Whisper, in the classroom, students notice the English teacher looks angry and wonder if the class average was low, but another points out that with Seungpyo and Jaemin, it should be super high. At the front of the class, the teacher asks everyone to settle down. Sighing, the teacher announces a slight error was found in question 10 of the English exam, explaining that while number 3 is the right answer, number 4 cannot be considered completely wrong. Ta-da! The teacher announces with a flourish that anyone who chose number 4 will also be marked correct. Whoa! The classroom erupts in cheers as students celebrate getting the question right. Clap, clap, the teacher reveals Jaemin was the only one in school to point out the error, prompting the class to applaud him for raising their average. Fidget. An embarrassed Jaemin laughs awkwardly, telling a classmate the teacher didn't have to tell everyone it was him. Sweat. He thinks to himself that while he'd normally let it go, getting the question mark correct means he'll achieve a perfect score. A confident smile spreads across Jaemin's face as he realizes he'll beat Seungpyo, while Seungpyo just sighs. The teacher says he'll go over questions before class, but a student groans, asking for a break instead. FWIP, as the teacher scolds the students, Seungpyo raises his hand to get his attention. Seungpyo challenges the ruling, arguing that if a multiple-choice question has one ambiguous answer and one clear one, only the clear one should be correct. He explains that he was also confused by the two answers, but chose the definite one, pointing out that others likely noticed the issue too. Chatter. Other students agree with Seungpyo, worrying that their ranks will drop and calling the situation unfair. The teacher acknowledges their point, but explains the decision was made with other teachers and that even college entrance exams sometimes have multiple correct answers. Bowing, the teacher apologizes to the class, admitting it was an error in the question's wording and promising it won't happen again. Murmur, Seungpyo looks away, muttering that he wasn't trying to get an apology from the teacher. The teacher's mood brightens instantly, telling number 1 to get their test papers out, which surprises the students. Alone at his desk, Jaemin reflects that he's never been so desperate to win, even going to a teacher just to beat Seungpyo. He reconsiders his view of Seungpyo, realizing the guy's taking their bet seriously, instead of just being a brat with an inferiority complex. Grit. Clenching his jaw, he thinks to himself that he definitely won, but his expression is tense,